Oh, wait, is that right?
I looked at them and maybe from bullying and.
I know that Anton and Charmaine.
I mean, they
Is it okay if it's Jen or?
sometimes I do that.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and, get started because we have a forum, and I do believe Anton and Charmaine will be on.
We don't need to change the plan. do we?
That's true. We have to pick one.
All right.
Well, we're not, can't do your part too.
You're qualified.
Don't we have one voting item?
We
Yes,
do have
we
one
do.
voting item, we do. All right, so the solicitor update for tonight.
Yes, and actually I talked to Matt and, good evening everyone, by the way.
Hi.
Hello. Nice to see everyone. Matt apologized, he didn't get the solicitor's update, the, confidential memorandum together, but he will have that next couple days.
Okay, all right, thank you. And the superintendent's update.
Next week, I'm gonna give another update, a little bit more data stuff. That's okay, I can quickly go through it. There were some questions on the summer recruitment this year. So just to get some numbers, we had about 4 staff members, 5 parents. The numbers that we got, it's gonna be difficult to figure out, but we're gonna try and see if there's any students that we can determine that from those. We haven't got that information yet. I'll talk to Amanda. We want to get the October 1 enrollment data report is going to be important as well. And looking at over the last 3 or 4 years, I think next year is going to be better than this year. We got a late start. We got a late start in July, so we getting to communicating to the parents and the staff. It was already July when we started, so that was tough. But now we have everything in place. We're good to go. And I was working on some other recruitment thing that down the road that with an online, with a virtual program. Crossing guard meeting with PDs, Wilkinsburg Police Department last week. Myself, and Chief, Detective Wallace, and Miss Williams, just looking at the locations again, going through some things there, expressing some concerns that we had, and seeing if there were concerns brought to them. What we got from that, we're just going to be adding one more crossing guard because the supervisor, Kathy Williams, when somebody's out, that means there's no crossing guard.
Right.
So that's an empty spot. So the supervisor, Kathy Williams, by hiring somebody else, she can be the roaming person that can rotate around and fill those empty spots. And also check on staff regularly or, see if there's any concerns. So they asked if they mind if we added the extra one, and I'm assuming that we would do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then if you have a chance, when you have a chance to talk with Kathy, maybe also be keeping her eyes open for another hot spot.
Other hot
where they might
spots.
need a guard.
That's one of the things that, we'll have her do is just maybe do some hot spots.
I did talk to Kathy the first week of school, and she absolutely knows exactly where she would put them. She has several spots she would put crossing guards today.
She didn't tell us that last month.
Oh, she does.
We asked her that.
When I talked to her the first week of school, because she was out at Kelly, she said, there are places that I would absolutely recommend to put crossing guards.
Okay,
Yes.
so, but then just a couple weeks later, she says there are, so let's get to
Monday.
the bottom of it and see where they
We were
are.
all there at the same time. We're like, hey, did they get any? Does Kathy, any of us? And we're all like, is there any spots that we feel like we need one? And nobody brought anything to our attention on Monday. But that was the only thing that was brought to her concern, was making sure that we got that spot. And she even expressed she has concerns even just finding one. So
What are they paying? Is it still $13 an hour?
I think it's more than that.
that part I can't answer.
Well, I know they dropped it from the 20 that they was paying them from COVID. And apparently they was going back down because it was 13, so I don't know where it's at now. But that might be one of the reasons.
It would be hard to get her.
Do they get-
I mean, honestly, why can't we go back to the 20?
Yeah, right, but if you're up, really hard to come down.
What's the total number of crossing guards we have now?
Well, they fired all of them.
This would be
so
6,
they
I believe.
So we only have 6 right now.
Well, this will be 6.
Okay, so we only have 5 right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say that we had trans associates, when they came out and did the traffic studies, I walked, oh my gosh, I can't remember his name. Can't think of his name. The representative we work with from trans associates, that I can't remember his name. I took him down to the 5 Point that's close to Kelly, the rolling connector, and we absolutely need one there. I mean, that is, if I took a different route, that's impossible to cross. No, all those lights don't stop at once. There's no walk sign, there are no crosswalks.
And with the construction going on down there, it
That's
makes
right.
it even
That's right.
Harder.
It's miserable.
worse.
It's the rolling connector, Penwood,
So we might need
Rebecca.
more people in these meetings, like when I'm having these meetings and I bring that stuff up, nobody brings it to my attention. So we might need to have more people in the meetings, because we brought all the people together last month.
I know that when we had a parent meeting in the spring at Kelly, Raiden Sorok, one of the parents, asked if we could do a focus group of parents, a small group of parents, 4 or 5 from Kelly that could maybe give some feedback on issues like that, transportation related issues. And Rachel was receptive, just nothing has gone with that.
But that 5 Point is definitely a place to.
That 5 Point is hard.
If our kids walk that, then it needs to go. I mean,
I would walk it.
I
if I
don't
didn't
think
have
that would matter.
And because I'll tell you exactly what happens. At Rebecca and Center, I put my son on the bus. And if I didn't know the tunnel existed, I would walk my kindergartner
Straight
down
up Rebecca.
Rebecca and never be able to cross there because there's never a time where all the lights go red.
So you guys just tell me how you want to proceed.
And then with the
We've done the
construction.
surveys, we had the meeting, so I'm willing to proceed however we want to proceed. I just need,
I think
I think that is pretty clear, isn't it? That we just want the crossing guards. We have to figure out how much funding we have to go ahead and get them, correct?
I can recommend it.
No, you said she was hiring one.
She's hiring one to fill Kathy's spot, so Kathy can,
So it'll be just 6 in total.
Right.
6 in total.
But she knows she needs more.
No. There was no mention, no one brought up that we needed any more.
But this one that Miranda just mentioned, you know where it is. I mean, I can definitely see that that would be a large place to have a guard.
Yeah.
And there's another one at Princeton and
Oakland.
yes, thank you. That I
And
know
we
that.
just had a parent last night at the research study for efficacy here in Wilkinsburg. And her, along with 2 other mothers, were just very adamant about the fact that they've tried to communicate this, but they just don't understand why it's falling upon deaf ears.
Did they complete the survey? Because there was only 13 people that completed the survey.
I can't say that they completed the survey or not.
So it's hard for me
I
to
don't think
add.
the survey is a reasonable proxy, because a lot of people didn't get it and they didn't understand that was the forum, including myself. They're not the only parents who this has fallen on deaf ears for.
Yeah, and I think if we're not willing to do a small focus group, then maybe something along the lines of like a town hall or something where we make explicit to parents that they can come attend in person even and give their feedback on that. I think I'd be willing to do that. Yeah.
Is it possible that we could even be proactive and if we are in spaces or make ourselves available in those spaces to collect opinions? Like, for instance, would it make sense for me to have had those blue documents with me so that they can fill them out at that specific time?
Well, I thought that was the purpose of the survey that I was asked to do, was make sure it was sent out 3 times. Easy to click on, did that. I also went to the chief of police with our crossing guard chief or supervisor. I'm willing to do whatever we want to do. It's just, there's only so much time in a day and a week, and if I'm not getting that feedback from anybody,
Then you don't
then I don't know how to move forward.
My suggestion is to
I
talk.
think you're getting a fair amount of feedback right now. I mean, I can't say that the survey worked, because it sounds like you don't feel like you got a lot of responses, but there is a significant amount of parent feedback, just not through the survey, that the crossing guard situation is not right.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said,
I
I
agree.
really need to meet with this Kathy
Kathy Williams.
Williams person and have a sit down with her and have some parents come in to talk to her, because obviously she's not getting the feedback either, or she's not conveying it back to us, because it has to be a partnership, because we only pay half of the salary. So we have to get the borough on board regardless of what we do.
Right.
So maybe we need to have a meeting with Kathy.
Yeah, and the borough's only gonna do what's brought to them too.
Right.
So
The
nothing's
person
been brought to
who's,
them.
the person who straddles school district and borough is Kathy.
Right,
So she's the one, and she's the supervisor of it. She's, to me, a key player in this in
absolutely.
terms of identifying additional sites.
Yeah.
But I know that there was a time when we had 10 or 12.
Yeah.
cars.
There was, yes,
Yeah.
there was.
And we haven't changed size, and we haven't changed population that much.
Well, we bust now.
Well, the fact that we've increased means that we probably have a higher need.
I mean, that's the only difference I can think of. Okay.
Kelly renovation, site utility meeting last week with Manion Plumbing. Just to give you a heads up, they do have to relocate some piping there for water. They found an underground storm runoff and they weren't sure where it was at.
You didn't put the pictures in?
No, I didn't put the pictures
I
up.
have one.
It's pretty, the pictures are, you can drive a truck through it. And I guess it's from the 10-mile run, goes into Frick Park. So unfortunately, that's only about 3 feet underground. So they got to come up with a different option off of there because they need more space to do that. But they have a plan in place. I mean, we walked.
And they talk to the more people so that we don't get no fight back
Crazy
from them.
bills.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was quite interesting though to see the pictures of it. So, we've had several meetings and trainings regarding the grant with PPS. It's been a lot of work. There's a lot of things involved with it. We're still working out some things that we discussed at the finance meeting. Renee's been a big help with that too. So hopefully we don't know the exact amount that we're getting yet from this grant. The difference is between us, we have a plan in place, scope in place where PPS has not yet because they're still trying to decide what they're going to do with their buildings. And we conducted our last Kelly renovation informational session last week. We did it virtually and in person.
How many did it turn out were there? When I remember before it started, there was one person
I think it was 1
online.
or 2 parents
That was
that
it.
wasn't normally there.
Excellent, Emily's mom, I saw her on, that was about it. Yeah.
So altogether, we probably hit 20,
Probably 20
three
parents.
sessions.
Yeah.
Well, we tried.
Yeah.
We put it out
I
there.
don't know, at Scouts last night, Edgewood Scouts last night, a parent who lives in Edgewood was like, oh yeah, no, I saw the signs and stuff, so the campaign is working, people know of it. I think if they had real questions, they would have shown up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
or
hope.
real concerns.
Yeah, I at least saw the advertising for this meeting. I just go to the other meeting, so I didn't feel like I needed to go to the parent one. But I did see the advertising for it.
Just a reminder, this month, September 15th to October 15th, just is Hispanic Heritage Month. Put some links on here for staff, for parents. If they want to click on any of those links, there's some resources there. So with our increase of Hispanic population, it's important to think about these days and times. And I saw an email this week, even just thinking about how we schedule field trips and so on for different religions and so on out there. So that was a good email, actually.
Yeah.
So makes us think twice of how we do things and when we plan things. But just want to put that on there. Next week, I will give some more information, some data information that Amanda asked us to put together. I just haven't had time. I was being out Friday and Monday.
I do want to follow up real quick on that summer recruitment. I'd like to see what the costs were on that too.
Yep.
Yeah, so, so not only like the
What
numbers
we've
that,
spent on it.
yeah,
We approved a big chunk,
we
but we probably
approved
didn't
20
spend it all.
or 25, I think, and yeah.
Yeah, we definitely didn't spend it all.
Yeah.
So last thing I got here is I got these in the mail. Certificate of appreciation and recognition of ongoing board service and long-term contributions of individuals who bring their energy, talent, and values to the guidance and youth and public education in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We got 5 years for Minister or Dr. Dennis Bosick. And we got 10 years for Mr. Edward Donovan.
I must not have an 11 one.
I told you, remember they shorted me to you today, I was like,
They
You
missed
have one coming.
Uh,
All right.
what is it, the senior board member of the county?
I think the last thing I saw was 25.
Yeah, it's more than that now.
So,
Like, what am I, a senior board member of PA?
long story. But yeah, just let you.
Actually, I was gonna call BSBA and ask them who is the longest board member. I'm curious.
Good question. No, we had one.
See?
Oh.
All right, that's all I have for tonight.
All right, thank you, Dr. Joe. Okay, we are gonna have our first presentation from Sam Kusick from Proto Haven. Mr. Kusick, if you wanna just have a seat up here near that mic, does that mic actually, or is that just?
The owl should work.
Okay, all right, so the mic is purely decorative.
No, I think it was there for a reason.
Well, thank you all for having me here today. I really appreciate it. We, on behalf of Proto Haven, we are tremendously grateful for the opportunity just to talk to you real briefly about our organization and let you know that we're here. You know, we've been in Wilkinsburg for 6 years. I'm not sure that, you know, sometimes people forget that we're there. We wanted to make sure that we kind of throw open the doors and let people know that we're here and, you know, wanting to be a part of the community. So I did prepare a quick, just a really brief presentation, and if you don't mind, I would like to run through it.
Absolutely, yeah, it's up
Is
now.
it up on the screen?
Yep.
Yep, that's it.
Okay.
So I'm not going to bore you with the mission statement, but that's our mission statement.
Got it.
You know, we're basically here to engage people in the process of making things to enrich individual lives, build thriving communities, promote entrepreneurship, and contribute to a vibrant and sustainable society. You can go on to the next slide. We're you know, I don't want to insult anybody's intelligence, but we're a community makerspace, and a makerspace is basically, think of us as a gym, but instead of access to exercise equipment, we provide the public with access to a wide variety of fabrication equipment. We have a significantly better membership plan, which you can cancel at any time. We're an organization of about 200 members. We have a 12,500 square foot facility just over on North Trenton, and we house about 80 pieces of equipment. So what can you make there? You can pretty much make anything that you can think of. I mean, we have all the tools and equipment to do whatever you can think of. We have laser cutters, we have a welding station with MIG and TIG process, blacksmith shop, 3D printers, electronics bench, metal finishing equipment, isolation printers. We have a whole textiles area with commercial grade sewing machines. Go on to the next slide. And then we also have you know, full machine, metal shop, and a wood shop. The stuff that has come out of that facility over the years is pretty amazing. I mean, we've had people make everything from kitchen cabinets to their homes, to light standards for public parks, to public art installations, to I mean, pretty much anything. We have people that are running businesses out of the facility. We have people like myself who are just hobbyists, tinkerers, like to come in and mess around on the equipment. We have engineers who are doing prototyping, and we have a wide variety of crafters who are making stuff actively to sell. You know, as I said, we've been around since 2017. But we've not, you know, I'm not sure how much we've really worked to let the community know that we're here, we're a resource, and we, you know, want to do whatever we can to be of value to the community. So this is, you know, I'm here as part of an effort to let people know that we're around and looking to partner and willing to do whatever we're able to play in the community. We're here. Let's go on to that. And just as an example of a couple things that we've been trying, and we've been working to invite the public in. We had a special event earlier this spring. It was a garage sale, kind of piggybacking off of the Regent Square yard sale. We did a Halloween event last fall. We had the kids come in and make Halloween costumes, which was a lot of fun. We've been working, we recently did a little art gallery exhibition with the kids at the Catholic school. So there's just a lot of things that we can do, and like I said, we just we're here to be place a role in the community. Anyway, that's my contact information there, and I invite you all to come over. If you haven't been over to Borough Haven in a while, please come stop in, take a tour of the facility, and let's talk about things we can do together.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Oh,
And
definitely.
yeah, no, I had a couple questions for you too. Do you know approximately how many small businesses run out of your shop?
Yeah, there's about, I'm gonna say roughly 20 small proprietorships. I mean, these are individuals that are engaged in a variety of craft type businesses. I mean, we have some furniture makers, we have some textile artists, we have some jewelry makers.
So if there were teachers in our district that, are teaching things like maker spaces and what they do, or entrepreneurship type things, running small businesses, what kinds of age ranges would be appropriate to show them Borough Haven?
Our facility is kind of divided into half. I mean, the back half of the shop is where all the more dangerous equipment is, all the stuff with the sharp, spitty death blades. The front of the shop is the cleaner side of the shop, and where we have the equipment that is pretty safe for everybody to use. 3D printers, the laser cutters, textiles area, that kind of thing. With supervision, I think we can have kids there as young as 8 or 10. It's not. Like I said, with the key there is it's having them properly supervised.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
We had we did have we were in a youth program last fall. It actually invited some kids in from some of the high schools. They came in, we got them educated on all the right pieces of equipment. We provided them with funding to go purchase materials, set them loose and said, come up with something you think you can make and then sell, build up an inventory, and then we'll take you to a craft show and get you a table and.
And so
Yeah.
our renovation of Kelly right now, Kelly is pre-K through 2nd grade, and there will be maker spaces in there geared towards those age groups. So to know that there are spaces in the community that they can continue on and do that, or even have access to it for our kids at Turner, in some form or fashion, is good to know.
Yeah, it'd be a great transition, right? I mean, this is something that we run into a lot, actually, especially in colleges. Kids go to school, they have a maker space, and then they leave school, or they graduate, and then they lose access to it. And I think that's one of the roles that we're trying to provide for the community, where that can be that place that you go to when you lose access to a school-funded, school-supported facility.
Yeah, I definitely would like to reach out with you. I don't want to put you on the spot thinking about how we can work together, whether it be our primary, intermediate, or even the families within our community, to give them an opportunity somehow to utilize your facilities. But I didn't want to put you on the spot on that. I figured it'd be easier to reach out to you maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, we'd love to explore some ways we can work together. And like I said, we have a shop full of equipment, and let's put it to use.
Thank you.
This will come in handy. Thanks for coming in and presenting this.
No,
Thank you so
very
much.
much for giving me your time. I really appreciate it.
No, we appreciate it.
Thanks. It's good seeing you.
Thanks.
Okay. We have our next presentation is from 10, the Efficiency Network. We are ready. If you're ready, we're ready.
So just to refresh, everybody knows Renee Gaston and Bill Craig writing their roles for us, I think. No, so Bill's the owner's rep on this project, so he's us, you know what I mean? Everything that we don't know about Brett doing his school, Bill does know, and so he's critical to us in that. And Renee is the, not the project manager, but because you have.
Project
I'm sorry?
Project developer.
About developer, all right, from 10, the Efficiency Network, which is related to K-Lite. And so now we're here to talk to us tonight about our next phase and what's gonna happen in there and what it's gonna cost us, so we can approve it.
Sounds good. Yeah, so thank you for having me in. I'm excited to kind of talk to you about what's transpired so far, what's the next phase, and how to finish out the project. So we can talk the agenda a little bit. We're just gonna talk a little bit about the progress, the design progress, the site progress, the addition progress, and the renovation progress. And then what we're here to talk about, if we get approval for tonight, is phase 3, which is the addition, pour and shell and fit out, and the second floor renovation. And we'll talk a little bit about what's left for the remainder of the renovations, the budget update, and the schedule. So I'm not gonna go through this. These were the objectives and vision we had for the project. It's just nice to remember why we're here and what we're doing. Again, trying to make it accessible and welcoming entrance and better administrative space to serve the students, and then with the renovations, make it maker spaces, flexible areas to have classrooms, but also utilize the ramp in a unique way, but improve the learning environment, right? That's what we're gonna talk a lot about tonight, is upgrading the mechanical, heating, and cooling systems, electrical systems, to just make a better learning environment like we've done at Kelly. So the design process, we have a number of the people in here, yeah, some of it, and Rachel, Dr. Joe's been to some of these too, but we've had a lot of programming meetings, and I think you will hear, hopefully from the staff, that we met with a lead teacher from every grade. We met with the art, music, Spanish teachers. We held programs with the health services and support folks. So everyone that had an individual space, we met with them. We did kitchen programming. We also looked at the site and the parking lot with trans associates. So we've done a lot with the design. We have completed all the construction drawings for what I'm going to talk about today, which is the addition and the second floor. We have 1B construction coming up next. We have the design documents. The CDs are due at the end of September. And 1B, that's the classroom floor. And then the last piece is 1A, which is the gym and administrative area, and then the lower level, which there's lots of work to be done there with the kitchen renovation and moving. And we weren't supposed to have design done until January, so we were able to work with our design team to move that up to the end of November for a couple reasons. One, just to keep the process moving and make sure we have budgets in place. But second of all, the permitting rules change in December, and so we don't want to have that in the middle of our design submission, so we are going to be submitting by the end, before December 1st. So we are on track on our design schedule. So I just showed you the last two pieces, big pieces over there. On the right is the kitchen renovation. We spent a lot of time and met with the food services. Everybody's just been so great to work with and giving us feedback. It's just been amazing. They really seem to like the layout. And then the parking lot, we're adding some more parking spaces. And the main thing is getting the traffic off of Kelly so people can exit off of McNair and keep the traffic flowing as opposed to backing up on Kelly. So those are in the works, but we have started the design on that. So we can go ahead and move to the next slide. So there's just some pictures. Everybody likes to see pictures, right? So this is the progress. The first is the renovation. So what we did this summer, we did the abatement. And a lot of the abatement was either the mechanical room. You can kind of see the bottom of that big tank we took out. There's other tanks and some other piping that we had to abate. And then we also had to abate several areas of classroom floor. That's the bottom left picture. So we had to pull up that and put in temporary flooring. We had all the safety measures in place while we were doing the abatement. That's that top right picture, making sure all the ventilation was going out. And the bottom two left pictures are kind of safety measures we put in place. As we're working on the second floor, we can't let any of the students come up to the second floor, so we had to block up some things off the ramp. That's the right picture, and then up the stairway so no one can get there. So it's a closing door as you walk out, so you don't have to worry about locking it, just left. So You also see the site, there's some fencing, and we're really trying to think through the logistics of little children coming back to school and a big construction area where we're working right in the main entrance. So our teams and our safety managers have been out quite a bit to make sure that everybody is working in a safe manner. So then moving to the next piece is the site and addition. So as you can see, we're moving a lot of dirt, moving some walls. When we bid this package out and this started, we selected Mercedes was the lowest and best bidder. So they've done a bunch of construction. What they found though when they dug, when they got to the lower dugout where the gym, underneath the gym, as you know, you have different levels of your building. Well, when they dug it out, they're like, wow, the change in elevations is extensive. And so we went back to the design. We thought we could just do some underpinning, and they were like, I'm not sure underpinning is enough. So we went back to the structural engineer. So we're doing some nail soil, so that's kind of why you saw a little delay in construction, but we want to make sure we got the right detail. So there's some extra cost in that, but we have that covered under the addition, but we want to make sure that the building is real safe. As you know, I don't know, a lot of you probably don't know, but we found out later that in the gym, they had some settling before and they had to put in some grout. And so they've had issues with that building, so we want to make sure we have issues in our project. And then that picture to the right is, we were talking about, was that sewer. So that's just the picture of the sewer going up, and then as Dr. Joe was talking about, there's a tunnel underneath that goes 9 miles, I guess. And so, of course, that's right in the way of our water line from the West Street to the building. So we had to do some, but that's what renovation projects are about, is running into obstacles and figuring out how to get around them. So, but we are progressing on the site in addition. And the next one is just phase 3. So that's what we're here to talk about tonight. So phase 3 is we just did the foundation of the addition. Now the next phase is the core and shell. So the outside of the buildings, the steel, the structures, the walls, the windows, the roof, the fit out inside of all the offices and the beautiful entranceway. So that bid, those CDs were done in the middle of August. And so we bid it out. The bids were due on September 11th. We had 3 bidders, Mercedes, A.M. Higley, and Mascaro. They were all fairly competitive, so we always went back and we went through scope reviews, which each of them, and then asked them for, we're still working through some of the details, but right now for the firm fixed price, which they gave for this phase. We also asked them for a GMP for the rest, but we'll talk about that. A.M. Higley was the most competitive and seemed the most eager to get the work. Thought it might be Mercedes because they're on board, but A.M. Higley definitely wanted the project. They were.
So do you have experience with Higley?
We do.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, they're a Cleveland-based firm, been around for 90 years. They actually recently bid on another project that I'm doing. They didn't get it, but it was a very impressive presentation.
So they did do a lot in Pittsburgh, and then I forget the whole story now, but somebody moved, and anyways, they've not gotten a lot of like Pittsburgh, so I think they really wanted this to start
Right.
getting back into, but we've worked with them up north too on a project. But yeah, they definitely knew their scope and what they were doing, they had a great approach, they knew the timeline, so we felt very comfortable with them.
Because some of those guys, when I was over there, they were really into it. I mean, you know, they were like,
Yeah.
feeling, they were
People from
feeling,
Cleveland came
they were
down.
attached to the building, attached to the project.
Which ones?
The Mercedes.
Yeah,
I met when I was
They are,
there.
and they do more, they do obviously renovation work, but where Higley wanted the first job too, but Mercedes does more of the foundation cement work than Higley does. So I think that's where, so Higley didn't win the first one, but they're a little more suited for the renovation. So, no, I really, would have been nice kind of for Mercedes, but you know what Higley was talking about, that they're working with Mercedes on another job in Pittsburgh. So they're friendly. We don't think there'll be any issues with transition or ENS, and then secure. So we feel very comfortable with them.
All union, all
Okay.
3 of those.
Good.
Yeah, they've all worked together. I mean, it's sort of like, just how we work in the industry, so, all professionals, so that's great. The big thing is we need to release the steel soon, because there's a lead time, and we'd like to get that before the heart of winter sets in. So, that will be the first thing we'll be doing. That's why we want to really get this started.
And releasing the steel happens after we approve the notice of
Correct.
addendum and certified.
Yeah, so the next, and then we also got the mechanical and electrical updated based on, because before they bid on either SDs or DDs, but now they had the CDs, so they went back and updated all their pricing based on the construction drawings, final drawings. So we've submitted some permitting already for the drawings. As soon as this, what we said is I'm bringing in not to exceed price now, we're gonna do a little more negotiating, not to see if the price comes down any for the, this phase, and then we'll work with that team to do the GMP for the other two floors as we get those drawings. But right now, this is what we're looking for, but everyone gave a hard lump sum based on construction drawings. So just to remind you what we're doing on the second floor is not real tricky. We're just renovating the classrooms, but we are putting in an accessible bathroom and renovating the other bathroom. The big thing is the library now that we're making a classroom and a couple other small bedrooms, classrooms and storage rooms. So those have some more walls and do a little more work there. And then the addition.
Can I go back to that side room, just to emphasize, the accessible restroom was an added scope from the conceptual or schematic plan that we originally had. I just want to point that out. And that's on every floor, right?
That's on every floor. That's, what we found is if you look in your restrooms now, they have an ADA stall. So they made it wider and put some bars on it, but it's not really ADD because there's not enough room to turn around a wheelchair. So we're like, well, we're updating one of the main things is making it ADA accessible.
Sure.
Why we're putting in the elevators, and we're like, so DLA is like, well, we really should give them a whole ADA restroom that you can turn turn the wheelchair around. But it's also gonna be nice because the teachers can use that room because not all the kids will be in there all the time. But what that also does is allows us, when we renovate the main restroom, we can make that stall that's supposed to be ADD the right size, the smaller size again, and we can get another toilet in the female restroom because all the teachers are like, can we get more restrooms? So I think that will help too. So that's in the renovation as well. And then the addition, we kind of talked about that. We have the entryway and the lobbying. You've seen pictures of that, and then just the security office. I know one of the things that we'll talk about a little bit is the security costs that we thought we could just use your existing fire alarm and security system, and we were just kind of estimating what we would need for the addition. But because of you need more fire alarm devices, but they've also changed from robes to horns or horns to speakers. So we had to kind of redo the fire alarm as well as the security needs to be upgraded. But that's kind of the work we're doing in this phase is the top left triangle. So here's our current budget. You've all seen this. So we have the base project of the 22 million and then the additional scope, which is the 4 million for the gym units, the chillers, the kitchen renovation, relocating the lower level restrooms in the corridor. So that totals 26 million. Our project, the green items are not that landscaping, and Phil's working on that FF&E and who's rep. So our project totals about 24.8. So that's what our current, that's the budget I gave back in May. So currently, this is the overview of our budget now and it's phase 3 scope. So as you can see, our overall budget, the initial contract was just for the abatement and starting the development and design for 750. The amendment 1 was most of the design up to almost CDs, which was $1.1 million. Phase 2 was the addition, which was 2 million. And then phase 3, the MEP equipment authorization for 2.4 million.
So that all occurred through July.
Correct.
Your last amendment approval was July.
So to date, you've committed to $6.3 million. So phase 3, again, that's the whole addition floor and shell, the addition fit out, and the second floor renovation. That is 7.85. Now what that does is besides those 3 things, it also, as you can see, it also includes, because we're doing it in phases and it's really a moving, we gotta get the design done before we can do the other things. So included in that 14 million, the 14 million is 93% of the design, 75% of our labor, because I have going through to the end of this phase, which would be April. 60% of the GC costs, like the trailers and expenses around that. 75% of the mechanical equipment up in the phase 2B. 30% of the electrical equipment up in the 2B. And then 100% of the glazing material. Those are the windows, by the way. We decided it would be best to get all the windows in one batch, and then we'll install them. That's just the material. We'll install them as we go through each phase. So, so the total that you would be committing to after you approve this phase would be 14.
Right, on the previous slide, the 3 items in green, I know they're not under, you know what I mean, yours necessarily, but they're funded somehow, aren't they?
So they're sitting in the
Oh, I
$26 million number.
Pardon me,
Over,
they're in the
they're the
26,
money, they're,
215.
Okay, got it, thank you.
got it.
Yeah,
So-
I didn't look at the total.
Back to the next.
Yeah, and so we looked at trying to do the kind of overall budget to see where we were by getting some pricing for the next 2 phases, which is the 1B and the 1A in the lower level and some of the site. And so right now, we're about 11 million, so it looks like we're a little bit less than $500,000 over budget, but it's still early, so those are GMP prices, and we're already working with our MVP to try and find ways we can reduce that scope and firm up those prices to get a better price. But we're kind of bidding off of the lower level and a narrative. So, you know, when there's a narrative and there's not really good drawings, then but that's what it's priced on. So we feel like we're in really good shape. Moving ahead, you'll see why we're kind of over budget. Some of the scope changes that were requested by the board is the electrical panel replacements, as we talked about. They're original, so they're 55 years old, but they're also not, didn't have capacity to add some of the things, which is the next one, like the additional outlets. So to add the additional outlets, the teachers we had to increase the panel sizes, so we had to replace those. Also, we wanted to put in dimmable lights. That's one thing we heard across the board with the teachers. And so you had to have different switching and you have to run over the wire to do the dimmable lights. Another big one is the parking lot difference. So if you went back to the one slide, we had $220,000 in for allowance for the parking lot because we first were just going to resurface them. And then when we decided, we need to do this site thing to get the parking lot and add more spaces, but also get the flow differently. Right now, that's at 600,000. That is in this price, even though it's in a later phase. We have that in our GMP price, not in phase 3, but 4 and 5. The only concern I have there is they did an off of trans drawing, which is a group drawing, but there's no grading or site work yet. So they have allowances, $50,000 in for site and storm, and $50,000 in for the grading. So once we get the site folks to give us a drawing, then we can get that updated. But we have that in that. Another requested add was, remember the outdoor louvers? They're kind of ugly silver, and we talked about putting in architectural louvers. But we found out if you replace the louvers, you have to replace outside air ductwork because it's all connected. You take the louver off, it disconnects. So, so that's about $100,000. Some of the other overruns or the foundations is we mentioned way back when we did off of worship plan, I guess. It was just kind of where the building was going to go. We said the foundation is probably the biggest wild card, and that's probably where we missed the most from our original thought. So we had we talked about the nailing, the soil nailing that we need to do, and then the water line, and we have to go around the sewer. So a couple little things there. Design finishes, when we originally, and I'll show you some pictures of that. gonna be beautiful, the storefront staircase, terrazzo, but when we originally estimated that, we weren't sure what the finishes were gonna be. We had a little bit of additional abatement, which I'm glad we found early, but we were able to complete that over the summer. But there was some piping insulation that wasn't touched, and then the new accessible bathrooms. On the 2 levels, we kind of had the other one in the lower level. But, so we had $1.1 million just in requested ads, and then you add the other ones were at $1.8 million. So that's where some of the costs come in.
I do just want to comment on that electrical panel and just say, it was necessary. I know it says project ad, but if we were scared to turn it off, then this was necessary.
It looked like something for
Or
a
winter,
Frankenstein. Pull this switch.
You know, one other post-observation of this analysis of the building, and we were just talking about it before I started to speak here, was the mechanical system. If you remember with the prior architect, they were proposing a system, a replacement system, the mechanical, that at the time was projected to cost more, right? And my question, Renee, is we've seen pieces of the mechanical system being added. There's been cost increases. I asked her, well, why couldn't we have gone back to the old system? And what was your response?
Because you can't build it.
You can't. There's no way you can fit it.
I was like, when they said that, when they first brought it up, I'm like, have you been in the building? And they're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, there are beams that stick out of the ceiling, cement beams that go all the way across the building to do this hexagon, cool looking building, but there's beams in every ceiling. And if you look up in the ceiling, you can't see unless you take the ceiling down, but you can if you go to a lower level. If you look, they have little transfer openings that's about this big. In fact, one of the issues we're having when we're working through is the lower level. So moving the lower level is a little challenging. It was expensive to move that kitchen, but it's a beautiful design. So, but we're trying to figure out, can we get the exhaust out of the kitchen? It's bigger than our pool, and that's just one room. And we're like, so we're looking at structurally if we can make that hole bigger or not. And if we don't, we have to take some bulkhead and take it down the hallway. But I'm like, so how could you put in rooftop units and run ductwork? Even I know even the Justin and the Ben are like, why are we getting these unit ventilators? We don't want the unit ventilators, we want rooftop units. And like, that sounds good on paper, you just can't get there. So, yeah, and then actually it didn't take very long for me to convince them later, like, no, we couldn't do that. But what we are trying to do, I think the next slide might show that a little bit. Oh no, this is just next slide, but go ahead to the next. I don't know, it's later, but we have some extra ductwork.
Don't we keep going?
Yeah, go ahead. When we think of that.
Just tell me one that.
So here are some. So some of as you can see, there's quite a bit more ductwork that was added, and that's on the lower level. So this is what we're hoping to value engineer some. But one of them is when we decided to take the walls to put the hard glass in. If you touch it, you got to take it to the deck. Your walls right now only go to the ceiling, so we have to take it to the deck. Well, guess what? If you have to take it to the deck, now you need to get relief air out. Because before it was just passing through the top of the ceiling. So you need ductwork, you need diffusers, and you need a fire damper. So that's the addition relief air fire damper for the walls. The gym supplier ductwork, and we can take some of this stuff out, but right now the fan just blows right into the gym, and so they were trying to put in some ductwork to make it quieter. So hopefully we can reduce that. Extra supplier duct, we talked a little bit about that. What they'd like to do is when they put in the new unit, your ductwork, where you have it, is 55 years old mostly. So it either really needs cleaned or it needs replaced. So right now we have replacing that with 2 diffusers, again, to try and make it more like quieter and better, but so we're gonna work on that. The flex, there's just some other things like the ramp. Right now you have no ventilation in the ramp. There's lots of areas you don't have ventilation in. The corridors and some of the over in 1B, 1A, over in the gym where the health services suite, we call it the health suite, I don't know what you guys call it. The gym, not the gym, but the
versus.
rooms and what we're gonna make the library and the makerspace, which now offices, we're renovating that whole space, so we have to bring in some outside air. So that's some of the things that we're working on, how to reduce the ductwork. But that makes where some of this costs come in, but we can go back. So some of the design finishes, and we thought, this is really cool, but like, we went to our GCs, we're like, well, where can we cut some costs? And there's a high-end terrazzo tile, so we're gonna recommend a different terrazzo tile that still looks good, but maybe not as high-end. You see the brick columns and some additional lighting. In the storefront, I don't know, so when you walk all the way down the bottom of the, right before it, all the glass that you see going into the monumental stairwell. I mean, that's kind of DLA's like, oh, we got this monumental staircase. This is kind of we would have a chandelier. So like, we didn't have that included when we were like, oh, this is a 400, this is just a lobby, right? But it looks really good, right? So it's like, it's $135,000. We want to keep it there probably, right? The clear store, anyway. So that's where some of those, I can push DLA some places, but some places that
Where it comes to something like that, chandelier, and probably has ideas that we could do for whatever, less expensive than what that.
Well, I'll just share with you, the first chandelier the price was 50 grand. I said, I'm not paying 50 grand for it. So like, just go back.
Yeah.
Like, so now I think I got it down to 3 grand, but we didn't even have that, like, that we do that. So, and I'll just share with you, because you don't know all the stuff that's going on in the background, but like, the lighting fixtures they sent us, they looked a little nicer than the ones we're putting in. But they were $92 a 2x2 fixture. I'm like, I'm not paying. Like, I can get them for 38, right, or 42. We're paying that. And they're like, okay. So like, they, there's been some give and take, and like, they have the big architectural ceiling tiles, the 4x4, so you can't really do anything with them but leave the strip fixtures in there. So I think it goes in. But again, just so you know, we are pushing back and doing a lot of, that's why I was working all weekend, make sure our numbers are good. But yeah, I think it'll still be a beautiful building, but what I don't want to have to cut out is like the chiller, or, right, because it doesn't really work.
Right.
And your pumps are leaking. Or I was like, well, we could take the gym out and get back down to budget, but your gym units don't really work now, right? So it's like, where can we trim and get tight without taking out the, important things to the school? So
I'm curious about cleaning the chandelier. How is that going
it's
to?
not really a chandelier.
It's not? Okay.
But it's
A light fixture.
I don't know what else to call it, because
Okay.
it's big.
Yeah.
It's like 4 feet by, I'll send everybody the cut sheet just so you see what it is. But yeah, I don't know how to call it.
Behind.
I don't know how well,
She brings up a good point.
but it's kind of like, slightly like it is.
Well, that's what I was wondering. I didn't know.
Are you afraid of heights, Bethany?
No.
Okay.
No, I understand why she's asking, just the time and the effort to clean it.
Yeah, that's what I
We want to make sure we
Yeah.
maintain this.
Yeah,
right?
that's
We want
right.
to make sure that this is our investment, we want to make sure we continue to maintain.
That's a good question. I will ask that question.
You'll have to have a hoist, to come down and have maintenance dedicated to cleaning the
Well, the
shit.
good
And then
news
it
is
looks
you're-
real spiky, so they're gonna be up there for a minute trying to clean all this.
I know,
You what I mean?
exactly, yes. I got it. I'm with you.
Yeah.
A little duster's not gonna cut it.
Because it looks like that heavy plastic from here, so it gotta be.
I mean, that's just like a rendering, but it looks sort of like that. So I'll send you the cut sheet, but I'll ask first how to clean that.
Trust me, I'm not like.
What do I have next? So so this is the rest of the design. So I just wanted you to see, so the plan 1B is pretty straightforward. Really, all that we're there is renovating, putting in the nice new corridors with the borrowed lights and the accessible bathroom, flex room. So we have some really cool fixtures. You saw the hexagon and circle fixtures going in the flex classrooms. And the next lower
So, hold
level.
on, go back. So 1B, you'll have construction drawings at the end of this month,
Yes,
and you'll have it priced.
you can price it after that, yeah.
So you'd be coming back with that amendment, or are you gonna wait for?
So that's a good question. So right now I have us coming back in October to do this, or we can wait till December and do all of it. We can talk about that. You guys can talk about that. We were gonna do it because we were just gonna keep rolling. And
So the benefit of doing it as one package is you get a greater participation, hopefully Higley and if
well,
Higley's,
we're going with the team we've got now.
yeah,
We're not changing, because that would be
right,
a disaster. But that's why we had them give us GMP pricing, and we compared the GMP pricing for all three.
got it, okay, all right.
But they have, so they know now they need to come in under.
Yeah.
And we're gonna look for ways to cut costs, but, yeah, that's why we waited to do this phase, because we wanted them to do the GMP. So we do have that.
We can talk further about it, but if you have the drawings for 1B, I think it'd be worth let them go through the exercise of pricing
Yeah, we can do that.
and then report back in October. And then you've got, go ahead, you're gonna do,
And then
so wait, just stay with this. So
Sure.
1B, you would start in January, February, right? Everybody in 1B flips up to the second floor.
Yeah.
And 1B is a very straightforward execution.
It's pretty close to second floor, except we don't have the whole
Right, you don't have that extra
library,
room to build
so this
out,
should
right?
be, yeah, better, easier, and the teams will be experienced, we know what we need to do, and it's pretty straightforward.
So the duration of 1B's construction? Yeah, I know you get your schedule, but it's.
Yeah, I
since we've
think
got
it's
the
like
floor-
that's why we thought we could extend, level 2 a little bit longer into May, or to January or February, we gotta just figure out when it's good for the teachers to switch. And then we have that going into like April, May.
All right, so go to 1.
Next one?
Well, this is
Or you
still,
want me to go somewhere else?
nope, next one's good.
Okay.
So part of, and then the next phase, this is the one still in process, is the bottom right, which is 1A, which is the gym and the administration area, which we can't really, well, I don't know when we can start. Right now, we're saying we can't start till summer, because you guys are gonna be using that space.
Right.
For whether the teachers are on the second floor or the first floor, unless we think we can move more students up on the second floor than we have on the first floor. Don't know that, but right now, we're saying we're not gonna be in there until school's out.
What would be, in an ideal world, a good time to be able to be in there?
Well, I'll have to talk, now that we have our GC on board, talk to Higley and see which is more advantageous, to get a little bit of the lower level early, which probably is the case. But then you gotta figure out how to get lunches or get food to the kids.
started
You
talking
mentioned about having in
Yeah.
classrooms, so,
Yeah.
we'll talk and see which is most advantageous. The other thing, again, is we have to always think about is, how do we make it safe? So let's say we do this, and we can only do part of it, then can we block it off so it's safe? If we do the lower level, we do the cafeteria, kitchen side of the hallway, can we make it, so they still have a hallway, they still can get to all their areas that they're still utilizing, and make it really safe. That's where the kids come into, but there's other doors to get into the kitchen, so those are the things we'll be looking at to see what, because obviously there's a ton of work to do in the summer. So if we can get started a little earlier, beginning of May and April instead of the beginning of June, that gives us an extra month to do some work, but,
And that happens if we solve the lunch service.
right.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
I think we've talked about that. Everybody
Yeah.
wants to do it,
Yeah.
and we just have to figure out how to do it.
So
So,
now's probably the time to start trying to figure out what the plan would look like
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah. so you're gonna get, you'll get that time.
Okay,
Yeah, ideally, we would like to do that, yeah.
okay. I mean, that would just make it better for everybody, I think.
Right.
But because we also like to get the teachers time to get back in the classrooms, because I know this summer, we're, they're doing a lot.
Right, and they
We
are,
appreciate them.
they are rolling with it, they really are.
That's
They really
great.
are.
I mean, it seems to be, Rachel's been amazing as some of them, and they worked really hard to convince the teachers. It was a great plan. We always say short-term pain for long-term gain, so hopefully everyone sees that. So that's, that's what we have planned left. And then the lower level, I think, is the next drawing. Again, this one's moving the everyone says, can we move the kitchen back? Because that's expensive to move the kitchen. And I'm like, the flow is so beautiful where it is. So if we can just figure out how to make it work, we're gonna make it work. But putting the Spanish room and the sensory room and moving all the kitchen to that other room, it's a lot more cost effective to move a classroom or cafeteria than it is a kitchen, because you've got ductwork and whatever. But,
Electrical and.
but it's really nicely laid out, so we are gonna try and go with it this way down the road. But, yeah, so that's where some of that extra cost comes from, but it's a nice layout, so we'll do our best. Already went over this slide, and the options, and that's the schedule. I didn't even change the schedule because the schedule's pretty much the same. The only thing, there's two things. The site's probably gonna get moved into this late summer, fall. Just because of where we're at with landscaping and trans and trying to get that multimodal ramp. Yeah, but we can have the design and stuff done and ready to go, but hopefully it lines up.
So we were gonna submit though for the MPDS by November. Right?
Well, we're submitting, yeah.
And you're submitting, you should be able to submit for a site plan.
Yes, we're gonna still submit.
And you'll have maybe a landscaping narrative that may not be final, it had to have to be amended, but you could get a grading permit for the summer. And
so for the landscaping, you saw my email to the landscaping team.
Yeah,
I mean, that's really not under us, though if there's any hardscape
it's all hard,
sidewalk,
that's what you need to.
we need to submit. So whatever we need to submit on, we'd like to have, so we can just keep rolling and we'll have to.
Yeah.
The coast has been great so far, but they're like, what the heck are you guys doing? We have so many phases, like,
Yeah.
they've been good to work with, so we don't want to try and confuse things, but we have to. The other remaining work, just so you know, the switch gears, we always told you, and we've already, the lead times are like over a year. So to expedite that was $50,000. I didn't want to pay use $50,000 of your dollar to expedite that when we have a good plan in place that we're going to, we have enough capacity to put the addition on it. And we just are gonna put some switch over, so that when we do switch over, which whenever comes in, it'll probably be a fall or Christmas break, whenever we feel like we can, because it's gonna take a couple days shutdown, but if we didn't do all this extra work up front, it would be a 2-week shutdown. So we're getting ready we'll have all of it in place, so the school's up and running in September, but we'll just do the final switch gear install and switch over some weekend or holiday when the students are there.
This is 2025.
2025, yeah.
And is there any chance of it arriving before that?
There is.
Yeah.
They're saying it's not, because we probably want the $50,000 ad, and I'm not doing it too. So, yeah, I mean, if it comes in early, we will be ready.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't,
You've got a
We're
plan
still
to
ready.
manage it.
we're still ready to keep the school up and running. We just, yeah, the kids, the students, they won't know, but I just want to be upfront about that white flag to a holiday though, switch it over. But otherwise, so far, had a little delays in the foundation work, but I think we'll catch up. We have to wait for the steel anyway, so.
So that switchgear delay, that doesn't impact those bathrooms in the maintenance room?
Well, that was part of.
You can leave the existing switchgear intact in place.
That's why we couldn't get that's why we couldn't get both bathrooms over there, because we would be up against this switchboard, which we can't do, switchgear. We have to leave that in, so that's why we was moving the boys' restroom and the ADA restroom there, and then we're gonna girls, so like, we don't exactly know what's behind the wall, and where the pipes going, so there's some questions still there on the lower level, but, yeah, team's been working really well together.
How this project has grown, since the beginning, and things that we didn't even have on our wish list, like the ADA bathroom, that wasn't even in our original discussions, but the things that you've been able to eyeball, and then the two of you talking about it, especially working under the nightmare scenario of a phased project, I learned that much in the very beginning, that this, the least desirable way to do this is in all these phases and while the building's occupied. But from my vantage point, you're just doing an incredible job over there, really. I mean, it's, and watching out for our money like it was your money, you know, which is, well, kind of is.
I mean, I do that. If I'm gonna pay for it, then why would I ask somebody else to?
Right.
You're seeing the benefit, though, of real-time design costing adjustment. If you design the whole building and bid it, it's harder to change, the design and the costs and
And I mean, like, even like, we're working on the ductwork now with our design assist contractor and the Kim and Creed, like, if you did that with, they go out, we bid it, they can reject it, they come back, like, it's all, this is like real time, so there's a lot of meetings, looking for meetings happening on in the background, so, but we're excited to do this work. I think everyone will be happy. I think there's just a little pain to get there, so.
Now, just to be clear, looking at the numbers beginning, what we budgeted and some of the overruns that you're showing us here and there, how does that all impact? How does that all come into play? Are we still on schedule?
you're probably about a half a million over right now.
Of what's on the
On
front,
the
first
total,
page?
right. On the
But she's gonna
$24 million.
cut that back.
Right?
Okay.
But you've got 11 million to try to bring it back into balance, right? That's what, if you're, go back to that slide within where you sort of broke out the components. So from
Next
one before that.
One before that? No.
Yeah, 14 million, there it is. So think about it this way. You had a 24 million budget. You have mitigated 14 million of that investment. You're locked in, there's still potential risk, but the risk has been minimized. The exposure now is down to an $11 million exposure. And even inside of that $11 million exposure, we've got a fair amount of design advanced. The goal is right now between today and December, would you say?
And, yeah, in December, because we get the.
Because we'll have the civil drawings, you get grading, you might still be dealing with the landscape allowance. We will mitigate the last 11 million. You'll have a firm number on the 11 million, right? And inside of that 11 million, they saying, look, we've got some push and pull and strain on it, and our goal is to get it back inside of the original budget. All right? But you've mitigated more than 50% of the investment. So.
Good. So we might need to do a bake sale to pay for the chandelier.
Then we have the grants.
Yeah, and you're not factoring in any of the grant side too. It sounds like the exchange back and forth on the multimodal, we're gonna get something out of that.
Yeah, Mackenzie has been very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's been very amenable, giving us a chance to correct things,
Yeah.
submit this differently, do this differently. Yeah, she's been really, really good. And the other one thing said that because we were on the watch list, they waived the 25% match. So that saves us $800,000 that we were gonna take out of that grant to match, but because we were on the recovery.
Did you get that grant then?
No, but it's going for board review in September.
I was wondering if you heard, I didn't think they came out.
No, we haven't.
The environmental one did, but we didn't apply for that one. We were already started it. And it wasn't that much. But if we, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
So what happens if the absolute worst case scenarios happen and we do go over budget? When do we know that and what do we do with that?
What was it? I'm sorry.
If the absolute worst case scenarios happen and we do go over budget, when would we know that and what do we do then?
You go out to bond. In time to go out to bond and you take some more money.
So there's a couple options, you can do that.
Right.
You can let the grants offset that. Sounds like you'll get some grants.
Right.
We can look at cutting scope. Again, I don't want to cut I don't want to cut the big stuff that we want, like the children. That's part of being able to negotiate back and forth and say, okay, okay, team, we gotta go back and build towards the budget. But a lot of the stuff in there are things you've asked for and things that really make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
So, but hopefully we can use the grants to offset.
So kind of our first backstop is the grant to offset anything like that. The second one would be actually like having to make a really hard decision and say, no, we can't do that, we have to shrink
So
scope.
here's one example.
And it definitely
and I
come
think
back
you-
and forth
you-
for anything of a budget that we need to be approved,
Yes,
approved by the board,
Yes.
so at what point does that happen?
Does your number price in the additional 20 spaces of parking? So we made a decision at the last committee meeting, right? The trans analysis says 44 additional spaces. We went to 65 or something, right?
Right.
Those 20 spaces cost, I don't know, $100,000, put a number out there. You can elect to go back,
Right, go
or you
back.
can elect to go under that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
right.
You know, there's ways,
So those are the
To
kinds
cut
of
that budget.
decisions we'll be
yeah,
making.
there's, how much are we carrying for landscape price? Not a lot,
500?
$500,000.
Yes, the
Right.
500.
So that goes to a lot of other things around the site,
Right.
but you could elect to say, look, we're gonna push this out, we're gonna find other grants to fund that.
So if it comes down to spending more than, well, I'll just use this number because it's up there, the 24.8 million, then that comes before us to approve, right? In these
Right.
phases, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It has to.
I just wanted to
It
make
can't
sure.
spend no more than
I
I've
don't spend
already
any
approved
money
without
until
coming
you
back.
approve it.
Right.
Yeah, I'll do yours in a minute. This is easier.
No, we are, the school board will have to approve any expenditure, period, so,
yeah.
yeah.
So right now, the ask is for you to approve the 7.85 for the phase 3, the core shell, the addition core and shell and fit out in the second floor.
And that's not part of that 24, that is part of the 24.
That's part of
That's part of
the
the
Part of
It's
it.
the next piece of it, yes.
So at the end of that, Latanya, then you'll have committed the 14 of the 21. Which
Okay,
is,
so when, and I'm asking because I wasn't here at the original start. So when you all approved the budget for this project, you didn't approve 24, that was just in your head, or, because my question is if that 7 was part of that 24, why would you do it?
The original was 24, but then when they came back with things,
We
That would be
approved
good
that
to do.
amount earlier in the spring, this year. That's what we approved that, yes, saying we're looking for that to be the cost of
Right.
this, yeah. And then the bond was taken out after that to coincide with that with what we have in our capital projects fund and the bond together to come up with that 24. I think we were still short, what, 2 million?
There's about 7 in the capital reserve, with the 15 million
Right.
bond, so.
Right, so it was 2 million, we were like shortish on that. And so what we're doing is we're keeping that number in mind always as we allocate, as we approve these amendments for that allocation of those funds. Like, okay, so
So
we've
you're
done
doing
this
it in
much.
phases.
Yes.
Total was 24, but you're looking to add that
Right.
7 to the total that you've already, okay.
Right, so the
All right.
phase that we've already approved, that we already committed to date was the 6.2 million. Today, tonight, we are looking to commit that 7.8 million for this phase 3 to proceed. And then, so that would bring us up to that 14 million total, once we approve that 7.8. And then the rest of the project is looking like it's about 11, and so that's what we're talking about, like what's the process look like for shrinking that down to make sure that we come in under that?
Well, that was my question,
Yeah.
because you said you approved 24, so that was my whole thing, like if the 7 was part of 24.
Well,
why did you do it?
approving
So
is
you
not
didn't, you're doing
really,
it in phases.
Never.
I
yeah,
got it.
approving is not really the
I
way,
got it.
what we did, it was more like,
Approve the project.
The
and-
project.
But
Right,
you've been improving the expenditures.
Expenditures as they go,
Exactly.
right, that's what.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
so Tanya, when we put the budget of 24 million, we had schematic drawings in there.
No, you honest, I did Turner.
Okay,
And that's, we wanted. to-
And I worked for Mr. Construction for 8 years, so I'm all down with
There
it.
you
Got
go. Yeah.
Okay?
We
so
wanted to
so
work
we're
that.
pretty happy that we're on budget with
Here's,
where we're at, so.
here's one other thing too, well, I guess, I was thinking, if you said, look, we can't go over the number, you can always pull back on the base. The lowest level, you're reworking a lot of areas. That was a huge scope increase, huge.
Huge, yes.
I mean,
We didn't
probably
include that.
2 million of, 2+ million of this budget sits on the lower.
Right.
Right.
But it also became something as we were doing this design process,
Yeah.
Why would we leave this level out?
I agree.
That's
Yeah,
right.
well, when we did turn, we didn't do it in phases, approving the
Right.
budgets, that's why I was asking the question.
Right, you just did one.
Right.
But we were tortured with,
Change orders, yes, change orders.
You did it, yeah. you did
And
it
some
the
of them we
change
didn't,
order.
Every
some of them
month.
we didn't approve, some of them we did, it was, that's why I was asking that question, because I seen the number.
And so that's why it's kind of like we said, okay, there's this pot, can't spend over this pot.
Right, okay,
And each time they are getting ready to spend the next chunk, they come to us, give us the presentation, and then we say, okay, you're allowed to spend that.
And I'll be interested to hear, Tanya, at the end, how you compare the two approaches, because they're very different.
very, very different, and I'm glad to hear that you said your construction crew are working together. We did not have that unity with the Turner project. Everybody wanted to be a chief and nobody wanted to be a flying Indian, and that's not the word I want to use, but.
But the structure is created. That's exactly what happened.
Right.
There's nobody leading it. And
Yeah, we had a whole, I ended up leading it towards the end because the person that we had as project manager was an idiot as far as I'm concerned.
Well, and maybe you saw with the other architect, right, when they were not a team.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
They were not interested in working together with many components of this,
It's
yeah.
easy, I mean, they were.
With us,
they did a-
especially with us.
They did a design and then they went off, 3 months later, they came back with something, I mean,
Remember, that's what our architect did with the Turner project. I had,
So, no, structuring it like this has been very fruitful for us.
DLA's been great.
Yeah.
to the point that I had to leave my day job and come up here for meetings every week because
Yeah.
it was that chaotic.
This is
So
comparatively.
you do need
very
an
simple.
award. I don't know, where's your award, looks like.
Showed up with the right number.
Is it-
Any other questions, because we're gonna have to vote on that seven.
Yeah.
No, I'm good. I understand what's coming.
Any other questions? Are we good?
I think we're good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Renee.
Not just for this, thank you for everything.
Everything, yes,
Yes.
yes. So for this special meeting part, I defer and say, what do I say here?
Right, so we have it on the agenda, right, as, I think the next item, a special agenda item,
Yes.
Keller renovation, so that's just the expenditure, and it says it in the recommended actions.
Do I have to like announce we're now in the special meeting, or do I just read the item?
I think you can read it as an
Okay.
agenda item, just
Okay.
as a normal item, as a voting item.
So our next item is a voting item tonight, which is unusual for the planning meeting, but nonetheless, we're doing it tonight. Board motion to accept the NTE amount of $7,850,272 for the Kelly primary addition, core shell and fit out, and the second floor renovation, which includes the GC and MEP costs.
So moved, Ed.
Second, Dennis.
You better hope it's going in fine.
Oh, there's two.
There should be three.
I just
There should be
said,
three.
you better hope it's going in fine.
We still have our attendees on, correct? Beth Ann?
Yes.
Ashley's not here. She's not on.
Charmaine, Anton, and Michael are online.
Yes for me, because I'm going out.
I know I lost internet.
Do you want me to mark it?
Oh, here, I got it. Okay, I got it.
Charmaine, Anton, we're waiting on your votes.
You should have five, so you can
Okay, I'm trying.
count numbers.
It's a yes for Charmaine.
Thank you, Charmaine.
Yes?
Motion passes. Yes. Thank you all. Okay, the Kelly Renovation Ad Hoc Committee report, I think we just had it.
Yeah, I think you just had it, really. We do have extensive notes on the walk-around, inside and outside walk-around that was on the 28th, I think. Was a whole lot of that was around landscaping and needs around that, but I'm gonna scan that and put that. We still need to get a folder for everything Kelly to be put into. I don't know how we can change that in in board docs, but we just need a folder to be able to throw all this stuff.
Okay.
And I asked for it, maybe Jermaine, anyway.
Maybe
So Denny, you have some real notes?
Well, I have notes, but I'll tell you, we meet every Thursday at 11 o'clock to 12, with the exception of 9-5. We didn't meet last week. But every other week we've met. So we have copious notes. I mean, one that you probably want to hear, but I just want to tell you every single detail, whether it's laminated glass, not laminated glass on the first floor, interest in solar, lockable bath cabinets. I think we discussed some of that stuff. We talked about just the systems, how they're going to be automated. So when the kids are not in the classroom, there will be automated systems where they'll turn things to a certain temperature. And when kids are in there, the ventilation will be accelerated and all that stuff. I mean, it's a very sophisticated system, and it'll be actually zoned. So, you know, like with admin, they're not gonna freeze to death in the winter, and they're not gonna boil to death in the summers, but that'll be zoned separately from the whole school. And they recommended, actually, 10 recommended we have one group do both buildings, and probably admin as well, and that would be Johnson Controls, I believe, is what they're recommending. Yeah. And so, you know, all the abatement work is done. I mean, it just goes on. And we heard a lot of it tonight. And the parking, the last thing was just all the discussion, the outdoor stuff, like the canopies from the parking lot. Let's see, and Bill had to send the CAD plan to Trans Associates, which are the people that are doing all the outside parking and finalizing all the way in and out of the building, and all of that. So there's site lighting, there's signs, there's benches, there's bike racks, there's all kind of landscaping stuff. So that's all been, you know, that's all under consideration now, and there'll be future meetings about that. So anyway, but we'll get all this written up and next week's as well. So it'll be there for you folks to see.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Thank you.
took some notes too. If I just got, they put together an agenda, and I think they take notes. I can probably.
We asked for that, Dr.
Yeah,
Joe.
keep asking, and then I just need to push a little harder to
You're
get
asking
it.
them?
But have you
Yeah.
looked into that? I haven't logged into
Into the
the
Procore?
site.
Into Procore.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I haven't been able to find it.
Yeah.
Somebody, and then I got a contact, I called the guy, they told me to call it for training on it, and he just didn't get back to me yet. That's okay, but it's all there. We just need to
Yes.
pull it down and.
And I took notes too, and you took notes.
Yes, yeah.
But they
All
take
from the
notes.
same meeting.
But they
take
I mean,
takes-
honestly,
Ray
I would
takes
just
notes
take
of
their
every
notes and see if there's anything missing
Right.
that you would add. And then
Well,
add it
and
and give
they
it.
even use, when they do.
Tony,
the
you still all
notes-
done? Or are you hungry? Okay.
We're
Go
hungry.
brush your teeth.
We're hungry.
I already did it.
He already did it. I'll take his portion. I can't hear him.
No, I don't think you can.
Oh.
Anton,
He
Okay,
turned it
okay.
up, yeah.
Okay, but just to finish.
Sorry.
the agenda-
Anton, yes? Me?
No, you're good.
The agenda has just been modified each week. A lot of it stays the same, and it's what's been accomplished, what needs to be accomplished, all that kind of stuff. But if we can get that, Dr. Joe, that would be great.
Yeah.
If we can get that, it would be terrific. Because like you said, we all take the same notes, so.
Okay, thank you so much. The Safety and Security Committee report, this looks like a note in here from last month.
Yeah, that's flat. That's,
So my apologies, I missed that.
you all missed that. It's always something.
Oh,
Anyways, it has been, we are having it this Thursday, is that
Yes.
correct? At 4 o'clock this Thursday.
right, and they're virtual as well as.
So we'll make that edit.
right?
Yep.
Okay, the Finance Committee report, the Finance Committee met tonight, so we'll give you a week.
Yeah, it's pretty extensive. The only thing I wanted to mention, that we have 6 board action items to vote on next week. And one will be the bonding for Beth Ann as our secretary of the board. And we have, let's see, a resolution that we're going to be the GEDTF grant, which is the gaming grant for $330,500. We're going to be applying for that for the kitchen.
We've submitted that already.
It's already
It's already
submitted, okay.
submitted, but we have to do the resolution saying that the board knows that we submitted it.
Okay. And Trans Associates, who were the group that we contracted with to do all of the, basically the transportation, the parking and all that kind of stuff, we had some changes that we made, and so there's an additional $4,500 to their amount, which is going to take it up to about 19,400. So we have to vote on that. Also the Wilkinsburg Land Bank acquisition notice. We had asked actually our solicitor to make our contract the same as the Borough Council's contract as far as the amount of votes we needed to pass things. And really all we can do is pass the tax abatement for these programs is our role here. So we have to vote on that. And in the high school, we have to get general liability, which will need to be until we actually get the building sold, and then hopefully we'll get that money back from the person who's purchasing.
And we had, during that finance committee today, had asked if we were gonna reach out to you guys, to see if we could get maybe like an estimate of the date of when that date would happen about the sale, or if we have any
I sent an
updates
email
about
to
that
Matt
sale.
too today.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, so we'd like an idea of when that might be.
Right.
We know it's been submitted, but.
Now for bonding, I did get an email back from Matt. He suggested, because our policy, section school code 431 of school code requires the board secretary, where section 436 for treasurer, and 511 for any employee serving as custodian funds on behalf of the school club or organization, which probably I don't think would affect us. And he said it's typical good practice for the district to secure a fidelity bond for anyone with authority for handling monies on behalf of the district. So I don't know if that includes Lori maybe?
Well, I don't think we ever had Lori bonded in the past, no.
I'm just reading what he said back to me. So we would definitely want to get the treasurer, add the treasurer to that.
I'll talk to
But I didn't
about
know.
Yeah.
And that was his response. So.
Treasurer and business manager are the only ones that we used to get bond, I think. Not that we couldn't do others.
Yeah, I was just curious about like redundancy stuff, you know, I mean, like, oh, we need this done, where's our bonded employee? If we have a second, then it's not quite so much pressure there.
So we definitely probably have to add the treasurer to that.
She'll have to get her own, yeah.
She have to get her own?
Well, we'll pay for it,
Oh, yeah.
but it's individual.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she really has no access to funds.
I know, I mean, I see more of Lori than. All right.
Any other questions about the finance?
And I just would like folks to look at the financial report. Beth Ann has done a fabulous job, and we sat here for a long time talking about everything tonight before. So I'd look at that. We are, I would say revenue is exceeding the expenditures, which is always a good thing. And Beth Ann had changed a lot of the money to dollars, so we got about $149,000 in dividends, which is terrific. And there's just there's just a lot of good things happening. But read the minutes because it's extensive.
Thank you.
Sure.
The joint tax committee did not meet last month. We'll have to update whatever this text is in here. I have reached out to John Antonori to find out if we're going to meet next week and have not heard back. I've reached out twice.
And I've seen Owen.
I'd like to meet this month so that we can at least talk about where we're at with, like, did the ordinances get updated for them? You know, like, did we need to make any changes?
I spoke to Owen just a couple of weeks ago. He said there was nothing that come on the agenda that he knew of. So
Yeah.
I don't know where.
And to meet to talk to Mike McMullen again about where we're at with maybe yard signs or where we're at with the website,
Yeah.
just to touch base with that. Because I know we don't get a lot of applications, but part of what we should do through that committee is try and get more applications, make it function. So hopefully we'll get some kind of meeting this month. If not, I'll push much harder to have one in October so we can go over those items.
Something that I don't think we've done yet was to link the borough's online application form somewhere to our website. A long time ago, we said
Yes.
that when they updated
Yes.
that and we were confident that it was all correct,
Yes.
we could talk about it a little bit, put some kind of a link on our
I think
website as well.
I think we talked about that when Mike was talking about doing the redo, and I
For the
think,
verbiage.
yes, and the last meeting we had, he kind of showed us the mock-up, and we had some feedback on the yard signs too, and so I'd like an update on that, and then once their website functions, then yeah, I think for us to link to it would not be hard at all,
Yeah.
That's awesome, thank you. the Parks and Rec. Charmaine, do we have any updates for Parks and Rec this month?
No, I'm actually not chairing Parks and Rec anymore, so I haven't tapped in.
Okay, all right. I will take that under advisement and find a new chair. Thank you. The Forbes Road East, Anton, do we have any updates on Forbes Road East this month?
Yes, relatively quick. Oh my gosh, I just had them. Yeah. I took a tour with their assistant director. His name is Nick Falcon. And their director of marketing, Katie Bishak. I'm getting some feedback. Can you all hear that?
We can hear you crystal clear. It's great. Yeah.
Okay, it sounds like
For us, it's
which is very distracting. Anyway, there is one Wilkinsburg student enrolled in the program, and it's a career technical institute. So the Westinghouse middle and high school, well, really the high schoolers will have some technical programs available to them there. And then Pittsburgh has its own technical school. But I imagine there are programs that neither Pittsburgh nor Westinghouse offer. So there's probably something for our students available that they can't get in their current locations. They seem to run a pretty good program. I was there for about 2 hours. The setup is sort of most of the students bus in from their home district. So if any other of our students went, we would need to sort busing. In some sense, we already do have one student who is enrolled at the Forbes Road CTC. He's not a Westinghouse student. And it's unclear at this point whether the high schoolers in the PPS district have the Forbes Road opportunity advertised to them at all. So I think that's the thing. That's just an outstanding question. I'm not sure if you have any further information on that, Joe, or if there's a registrar who would know whether that gets advertised. And then one thing they mentioned is they start their student recruitment and outreach as early as elementary school. So we could potentially have them visit our the students in the Wilkinsburg district itself to start making them aware at least that Forbes Road exists so that it's an option for them. Because they do seem to run a pretty good program. And I think it would be helpful to at least some of our students if they could take advantage of it. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you so much, Anton. That's a really good update. The Eastern Area Schools update, the last time they met was August. On my calendar, I have a meeting for next week, but after our legislative meeting. So if I have any updates for that, I will give them in October. The Wilkinsburg Land Bank, I do not have Ashley's update here, but we'll make sure to have it by next week because I think they meet this week, if I'm not mistaken. Wednesday? I think they meet tomorrow. I think that's, yeah. So we'll probably have an update for them next week. Those are our items. The meeting minute approval. So for next week, we will be approving the meeting minutes for August 27th. They look like they're there this time.
Double check.
The treasurer's report and the board action will be requested to ratify and confirm the August 2024 general fund payments of $7,120,136.56 and wire transfers for $1,186,291.87. The following report for September 17th, 2024 will be made a matter of record for the minutes, cash, profit, and loss, and those items are attached there for your review.
That's a little bit normally higher this month because of what we transferred the $4 million. Was that to Dollar Bank? Is that included in this or not?
No, that happened in September. This is
Right. August.
Well, it could be, yeah. We did the check. We tried to do wire.
Yeah, that's
we
what
couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So we
That
did the
number's
check over for $4 million. So yeah,
and
no, it would not be. No, we put it into in and out. It's not an expenditure. It's just a transfer. And so we put it into the function for in and out, so it would not hit our expenditures. So it would not be in that number.
It's a higher number than usual, the 7 million.
You have the roofs.
Okay, the renovations and roofs.
Roofs and renovation. The renovations are coming out of capital projects, but the
Okay.
roofs are coming out of general fund because we're getting ESSER money for them.
Yeah.
So I have to show them being expended out of general fund because that's where the ESSER money comes.
Okay,
Okay, so that's probably what's tracking and creating a higher number there.
Okay, authorization for resignations, new hires, and leave requests. That will be next week. Board action will be requested to approve retirement and resignations, new hires, pending clearances and solicitor approved agreements, and leave requests of professional and non-professional staff. Any questions about those?
It's the briefest form I've ever
Yes.
seen.
I was gonna say,
One
I
item.
know on it.
One item.
there may be another FMLA request that might just got linked this afternoon, so I couldn't add it. So it'll probably be added next week.
No
It's
resignations,
FMLA.
no anything, I mean, that's.
No.
There's
It's a good
usually,
one.
there's usually something in it, you know what I mean, so that's great.
Is there enough backup, Dr. Joe, with Justin being?
Yeah, we're working through that right
Okay.
now. He's got a plan in place. So that was the first question I asked, because he could be out a while.
Mhm.
So I made a suggestion. He had a different idea, which made sense, so.
Okay. Our conference field trip professional development workshop requests, board action will be requested to approve the attached conference field trip professional development workshop request for September 2024 at a not to exceed of $7,138.08. Those are attached. Any discussion around these items? I do want to reiterate what Dr. Joe said during his report about, we were contacted about scheduling one of these field trips on the first day of Rosh Hashanah. So, we've taken that under advisement to look deeper at what the calendars are for both Jewish holidays and Muslim holidays and incorporate those. Rachel had a really thoughtful response to that about how if it affects one student, it affects all students. So, missing that field trip, kind of sad, but
It was a
also,
great email from a parent, and we appreciate that email to bring it to our attention.
yeah. So we were not able to reschedule that. That was the Triple B Farms. It's scheduled for October 3rd. It's not able to be rescheduled, but going forward with these trips and things, they will look closer at those calendars. Any other comments or questions in regards to these expenditures? Okay. Moving on to our policies, the board action will be requested to approve the second and final reading of the new policy 005.1, the student board representative. There were some changes made to that, and I'll let Dr. Joe go into those details.
So it was asked last week about adding the 10th grade. So we had to change really just number 2. They'd have to apply, we had in there applying their 9th grade, 10th grade, and 11th grade year at the district to serve during their 10th, 11th, and 12th grade year. So we added that in at the request. Then we had a conversation today. I thought it would impact the 2-year school term, but it won't, so that'll stay the same. So it really only impacts the number 2 that we made the change that was asked.
Any comments or questions about that?
Not about that, but, are you going to student council?
Student council term? I don't think we've ever done it. We can consider it. When was the last time we done student council?
It's been a couple of years.
It's been a couple of years.
That would be great, yeah.
Because they didn't have it when I first got there.
No, I don't remember.
We're student
Kind of do the
council.
student
I think-
envoy now, so.
We have the
Student
student
envoy.
envoy group, which
Kind
is
of.
with, it kind of coincides with
I bet that's.
student leaders at Pittsburgh Public.
I think it, and I think when we move back from up here.
So if we had a student council, what would they do? Would they meet and kind of discuss what the issues were?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
think I
kind of,
would love that. I
so
would
we
love
may
see
want to
that.
just see if, what our student envoy does. Maybe we'll get a copy of student envoy and send it to you guys, because it might,
That would be helpful.
if
Yeah,
it's the same thing, then we might.
then we don't need, yeah,
And I
exactly.
think we could look into adding a policy explicitly about a student council where we provide students an opportunity to meet with representatives and discuss the issues that they see in their school and being able to like bring those back. So I think that's really a good idea.
Not for fifth and sixth, maybe some fourth.
I think our student envoys, what, fifth and sixth or fourth, fifth and sixth?
I think it's now down to third.
I mean,
Sounds fair.
honestly, third graders could participate too. I mean, if you structure it properly, everybody in that school could have a voice, you know?
And what I'm looking at is like at least representation from two from each grade level.
Right.
They are, you know what I mean, have a say in what they're
Because
going.
you weren't here when we did student envoy, I don't think. Were you? We'll send it to you and just kind of see what that looks
Yeah.
like. Instead of create another, maybe it's the same, maybe it's not, maybe it could be two separate ones.
All right. The next policy, board action will be requested to approve the final reading of policy 113.4, confidentiality of special education student information. And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Joe, this is just updating to go along with any changes in this.
Yeah, this was a request from Ms. Mosso because of our audit this year. That was one of the ones that came up. I did add the current policy, which is 2014, I believe it is. So I wanted you to at least see the current policy and then the updated policy. But the updated policy, just remember, it's anything that's in bold as a new section, and really, it's just mainly at the end, the disclosure to law enforcement that we're required to do. So.
Any questions or comments about that? This is the first reading, so review that and get any questions and comments back to us so we can make any changes we need to make before we vote on that next week.
Got it.
And again, it's the first reading, so if there are additional changes, we can make them again, yeah. Okay, so for board resolutions, we are at number 1. We made it there. So this board resolution for next week's board action will be requested to approve the appointment of someone to fill the vacancy of the Wilkinsburg School Board for the remainder of the term. So
Did you list of us again, or we're gonna discuss?
we're gonna discuss tonight, we'll select somebody tonight, and my suggestion, I created these fun little voter forms, just circle somebody, we could do it anonymously, we could circle it, put it down, and hand it to me. Now, we do have 3 attendees online, so it wouldn't really be anonymous, but I could have them maybe put it in the chat. If that's something we're interested in doing, then we could select somebody that way.
Is this secret? No, I guess it's under secret ballot. I mean,
You're saying sort of straw poll.
Right. Straw poll, so we can pick a name tonight, and then our vote on the person would be next week.
Yeah, I think what the problem would be, I just think, in case somebody on the line needs to discuss something or has questions.
I mean, we can discuss it too. We were thinking, if we just we can give you the count and have a discussion from there. After the straw poll. Okay, all right, so, yeah. And then I guess I'll give you these.
It's anonymous, right?
Yeah, I mean, you don't.
I'll write it, I'll do circle,
I
yeah.
don't remember that.
So Michael, Charmaine, and Anton, if you could put in the chat, out of the 4 names, and I'll read them. We have Bishop Kenneth Anderson, Felicia Davis, Jessica Hilliard, and Grace Tata. So if you put in the chat who you'd like in this straw poll to be the new board member, then Beth Ann will circle it and let me know.
Do we have? Bishop. Not to be,
Yeah.
I put the online vote.
I appreciate it, thank you. Thank you, online members. Yeah, they did it.
oh, did we pass these up already? No.
like a school, huh?
Okay. Well, Dr. Joe will look over my shoulder so I count correctly. Okay, so we have 4 for Grace Tata. We have 1 for Jessica Hilliard and 2 for Felicia Davis. That's where we're at.
Grace Avenue.
Are you good with that? Is that who we want to put in?
Really good, thanks, thanks everybody.
Any discussion, any comments online?
I'm good with that.
I'm so sorry, Amanda. Can you repeat that?
Did you have any comments or any discussion?
No. With the term to the voting? No.
Okay, all righty. We'll go ahead and put Grace in.
TE.
Sorry, my thing froze. Okay,
She won't be able to.
TETT.
correct, because the vote will happen next week.
Right.
In between next
Now.
week and a month,
Right.
yeah, a month from now, yeah.
From a magistrate or,
Yeah.
you know, voter, yeah.
And bring that proof back.
Okay, board secretary bond renewal. Board action is requested to approve the board secretary bond renewal for Beth Ann Ith in the amount of $100 for term October 1st, 2024 to October 1st, 2025. The funds will be paid out of the general fund. Any discussion around that?
Just from previous, we may have had one other person to treasurer.
From our previous discussion, we'll probably be adding the treasurer to that as well. Okay, concurring resolution GEDTF. Board action will be requested to approve the resolution of the $330,000 500 Gaming Economic Development Tourism Fund grant proposal for the cafeteria equipment upgrade and installation. The grant name is Nourishing Futures, upgrading Kelly Primary's cafeteria for health and efficiency. Any discussion around that?
Good title,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Whoever's reviewing the grants, good title right off the bat.
Okay. Board action will be requested to increase Trans Associates supplemental proposal amount by $4,500, which will be paid by capital projects. This brings the total cost and effort for Trans Associates on the Kelly Transit Studies to $19,400. Any discussion on this agenda item?
I should know this. What was the extra work we asked, do you, Joe, what was the extra work we asked them to do?
So it's, if you click on that, the document, and I highlighted today, the stuff that was not on the original proposal, revised the DCED cost estimates and exhibits, removing all parking lot related items and costs, which DCED stated were not eligible for reimbursement under multimodal grant. Preparing revised conceptual plans for the west parking lot and east drop-off loop and parking lot based on feedback received from the April 28th meeting. Preparing a brief memo with an explanation of the recommended parking lot traffic flow, including the number of parking spaces recommended, and attending in person or via teleconference up to 2 additional meetings with the school district architects and owners' representatives.
Any discussion, question, comments? Okay, Steel City Academies. Board action will be requested to approve the attached request for service agreement with Steel City Academies for the 2024-2025 school year at a cost not to exceed $235 per scheduled school day. And that would be the equivalent of $42,300 for the academic year. Attached is an overview of that agreement and also the academy itself.
We have somebody attending that?
Yeah, we're gonna have one right now.
One student right now. We had a student go last year for a 45-day placement, and it was very successful. They did well, and the student exited.
and return back to school.
So that was in the same year. This doesn't necessarily say that they'll be at that school for a whole year.
No, this student actually would be there for the whole
They
year.
would be, okay.
This student that we're looking
This
to
would be,
approve
this
now,
would be for a full-time placement.
I see.
So I knew you'd want the year, so did the math best I could. So that's actually, that students that start already?
Not yet.
Okay, so that number will be higher than what we'll actually probably spend. We also just received this afternoon an overall agreement, but we haven't had Matt review it yet. So that may be included in that. It's separate from this. You want to explain what I didn't get to
It's
review?
just basically the contract that we've seen with the other schools and everything. It's the more in-depth contract. The piece that's on there now is just for the individual student with the daily rate. And that daily rate, depending on the services, can change for other students. So we have the agreement with Still City Academies. One student is there now. If we would need another student, we would get a separate individual rate sheet for that student. And then that rate might be different if, that student receives other services. The student who's going there now won't have any occupational therapy or speech or anything like that. So that's the basic rate that we'll have for that student. So it could differ if we have another student in the future who gets other services.
So
where are they located?
This is
What's that?
behavioral.
Where are they
This
located?
West-
is
we had to look for
behavioral
it.
school. It's,
I've
it's a
never heard of
private
it, that's why I'm
licensed
asking.
academic school, licensed through the state of Pennsylvania and PDE.
West Mifflin, correct?
So West Mifflin, Lebanon Church Road.
So I had a lot of questions. We had a lot of questions. Jeanette got back to us. It is a PD approved program. We added some information, a link to it and so on, for any questions on it.
This is its second year, and it was started by the Keystone Education Group. I don't know if you've heard of them. It's Dr. Robert, I think it's Sherwood, but he runs Stowe Rock Special Ed, and they have a lot of special ed directors teaching at Slippery Rock and working as contracted special ed directors throughout Allegheny and Westmoreland County. So it's a big education group, and they saw a need for this kind of support in this area, so they opened the school last year. But obviously, the planning was in the works for years before that to come up, with their plan and to be approved and licensed by PDE.
So just to clarify, what we might have to do next week, because that's for all the services. So this board action would probably have to, or we would bring that to the board if we have any other students
Yes.
go. I think
Each time, we have to bring the individual.
That's fine, right.
approval.
Okay.
This is approving the fee rate.
Yep.
But
And that's just for this one student.
Yeah.
This is just for this one
Right.
student.
Yep.
Right.
Because like she was just saying, another student going,
They
might
need
need
other
additional services and it could be additional class.
Right.
This is just for this one student and she'll come back to us each time if another student needs to
Yep.
attend.
Board action will be requested to approve the Western Pennsylvania School for the Deaf PCA services for the 2024-2025 school year at a cost not to exceed $59,940. Any discussion?
This is also for one student.
This is for one student, yes.
This is for one student too?
there's nothing in this one that says it's for a student to go there.
It's
There
for
are
a
some-
personal care assistant for a student who attends there.
Okay.
So we pay the PCA school for the deaf through the subsidy. It's deducted before we get our subsidy from the state because it's an approved private school.
Right.
So this is a separate fee for the personal care
This is for the
assistant,
services.
for the service for the
Okay.
PCA.
PCA, personal care
Pers-
service.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Board action will be requested to approve the attached federal program service agreement between Wilkinsburg School District and Steps to Achieve LLC for the 2024-2025 school year. Service fees are $125 per hour and not to exceed $7,500. Support will include the following: review of federal programs applications prior to submission, support and training for federal programs, fiscal and program activities 24-25, review of monitoring items required by October 10th, 2024, training for Director of Finance and Operations and Director of Student Services and federal programs around record keeping, accounting, and management of title funds and documentation record keeping system ledger development for non-public funds. Discussion?
What do we do in the past?
Good question. So what we had in the past, we had a company who we hired for federal programs. They longer, so our federal programs coordinator is now Ms. Massa. We're being audited this year. This group, they just retired, this group retired from McKeesport after like 30, 40 years, reached out to me and asked if we could use any of their services. I said, we already have, because last year there was, what was her name, Nancy Olenek, retired. And then her partner retired. They both retired. She couldn't find anybody. So Jeanette had experience. So this year we're being audited. They asked us for any support, and with some of the new programs and the way it's all being put together, it's going to be some new stuff for these two. We have $44,000 in our Title I budget from Nancy Olenek still. So we have money there to use. So we might as well have that oversight of somebody who's been doing this for 30 some years. And it's only for this school year, $7,500. Not to exceed $7,500.
Well, the fact that they're giving us training, so we don't have to, go back again.
Yeah.
Know how to do it.
Yeah, they've been doing it a long time. They actually already stopped with me.
Yeah, and they're federal monitors right now, which is a really great mindset to have helping us. They can identify any areas that might pop up on an audit and kind of help us head those off before we get too far, down the road and have issues that we can't make up, so to speak.
And some of this is somewhat new to both of these people too. So having that 30-year experience could be important.
Well, that's why I said it's good in training them, so we don't
Yeah.
have to keep revisiting.
Yeah.
Board action will be requested to approve the high school general liability and property insurance quote from Gallagher for $7,512. Last year, with the tentative sale of the high school, they offered us property coverage, but the sale date was unknown. Sale date is still unknown. But with this coverage, if we get a sale date, and that sale goes through at that date, then they would then.
Yeah,
reimburse.
it's for the whole year, but they'll give us a refund if we end up selling the building before we get through the year.
Mhm.
So,
Year meeting starting when and ending when.
Yeah, when's the effective date?
9/11.
Okay.
Is that when it is, 9/11?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So we got till 9/11 next year.
next year, right, yeah.
Any other discussion, comments, questions?
Well, it doesn't need to be in the resolution, but I mean, it's understood, isn't it, that we will attempt to somehow negotiate this expense with the buyer. This is an expense we didn't anticipate incurring, so I think that we ought to at least attempt to negotiate reimbursement of whatever we incur here.
Try to put it on clothing costs.
Yeah, good.
Okay, the Wilkinsburg Land Bank Addendum, the board action will be requested to approve the attached addendum to the intergovernmental cooperation agreement with the Wilkinsburg Land Bank. This addendum is to adjust the voting threshold necessary for the district's proposal of property acquisitions and sales from 7 votes, which is a super majority, to a majority of a quorum of the board. Any discussion or comment around that? So this vote, again, would match with what the borough addendum stated. They have a majority of quorum of their board as well, borough council, sorry. So this comes before item number 10. Oh, yes, go ahead.
Item number 10. The borough, there was 2 properties on there. Did we make sure? Because they took 2 properties off.
To make sure it's updated from August or September?
From August, because they took 2 properties off. They said after reviewing it, the 2 properties were
I think we got an update.
Okay, I just wanna
But
make
I'm not
sure,
100%.
just wanna make sure that, you know, we're voting for the same things and we're not putting more on our plate than.
So that goes to item number 10, so board action will be requested to approve Wilkinsburg Land Bank's property acquisition. Attached is a list of the properties that the WLB board voted to acquire last week. These properties are located on Laketon and were from the approved NBM list. After acquisition, the plan is to sell to low to moderate income homeowners or to developers who are committed to renovating the properties and reselling them to low to moderate income homeowners. We'll open a discussion on this. This is the item that did not pass last month because we didn't meet the super majority threshold on that. So it's including the properties that were listed last month, and then there are, as another attachment, that are properties for September. So this is one item for all properties from August and September. And we will double check and make sure that they are the same with the borough.
Yeah, I'll have to check that because
Yeah.
I was just using the list from last week,
I think we might have gotten an updated one, so we'll go back through our emails and then we'll also reach out to the land bank and say, hey, can you send us the most
Updated list.
Yeah, and just make it one list, I guess, you know,
Yeah.
if we make one item, we might as well make one list.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You see, this one that's in here is August 19th, and I think,
that they changed it after that.
cause I don't think, and I'll check with my daughter.
Well, this one that's on there now, I know is the one because Beth Ann just said she copied it over, but I think Renee sent us an updated one.
Okay.
So we'll double check that, yeah. Yeah, if it only came to like, I don't know, Dr. Joe and me, there's a chance it didn't make it to you, but
There's a chance.
there's a chance that the updated list might not have made it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we'll double check on that. Yeah.
There was I saw one, then I saw another, and I thought I added that one, but
Yeah, because Ashley did say, like, she sent the updated one, right? And I was like, I think so, yeah, but I don't think we attached it, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll figure it
by
out.
Saturday when I get it back.
Yeah. Okay. Board action is requested to approve the reservation agreement application from Lils Hall Soccer Academy USA to use Turner Field for an after-school soccer program and weekend camps, pending the insurance document, the $100 facility fee, the $30 administrative fee, and coaching clearances. Any discussion around this? Just so
Yeah,
it's
so I see that the weekly schedule is about Monday through Friday and then a shorter period on Saturday, but there's no beginning and ending date for how many weeks do they want to have that?
We can update this. So the dates are, I just got the exact dates, October. He came to me this summer. They're from a national club, actually from the UK. They did a thing, he did an event at Granfield once or twice a summer, and they also did an event down at the soccer stadium downtown. They did a big, it's a big organization, one of the premier clubs in the UK. He reached out to me if we were interested, and I know we were interested in getting some more after-school activities for our kids. I said, hey, you gotta complete some of this stuff. It's all kind of new to him, but he did get to me today, and we can get this updated for next week. The dates would be October 5th, 9th, 12th, 16th, 19th, and 23rd. Those will be the exact dates for this fall.
3 weeks.
So
For this fall.
for this fall.
And what field are they using?
So they'd be using Turner Field, and
What time?
we already checked, I already clarified that. So we're gonna be able to work around the football team and what they have scheduled, and the Saturdays don't impact them.
Right, Saturdays don't impact, but
So,
Wednesdays do. I know that.
yeah, so the 5th is a Saturday, the 9th would be, Wednesday, and then the 12th is Saturday, then it looks like the Wednesdays and then the Saturdays. But we already let him know, hey, we got the football time, and it works well with their schedule. So they're gonna come right after school, so our kids can come just right over after school. They go from 6 to 16, but they can only do 40 to 50 kids. So we're just gonna really offer it to our Turner kids right now. If we don't get a lot of numbers, we can even go further down. I think they have 5 adults, but I told them I need all the clearances, I need all,
So it's like right after school, 3:30 to.
Yeah, so we'd have to get information for the October 5th. We want to make sure we're clear with the information with the parents, because possibly we can work it out where they just go home on the school bus. But the problem is the football team comes on around 5:36, so we would have to get them back down to the school. So we just got to work out those logistics to make that work. Or if parents want to come pick them up right after, we can let them know too. So we'll try to give them some options.
But the idea is to try to fill this up with Turner kids.
Only Turner kids, that's it. Yep.
Well, it's just at the age range, 6 to 16, there's some 16-year-olds that are pretty big to be messing around with soccer with 6-year-olds, you know?
Yeah.
I'm concerned. So I would be happy if it turned out that Turner kids filled up the class.
Where
You know?
Kelly kids be available to do that too?
They could be, so we'll get the numbers, we'll see what we got with Turner who's interested. And then if the numbers aren't high, we can go down to 6, I think he said it was 6 to 16.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's what it says.
but I think they can only do 40 to 50 kids with the
Right.
number
It
of.
says up to 40.
Is there adequate lighting on that field? I don't know. I mean, I think it's a great thing.
No, there isn't
We
that.
rent lights when.
Oh, they
like,
rent, okay, I was
yeah.
just gonna ask. I
The
don't remember.
Little League does, not, no, they would have to provide their own lighting, but it would probably be daylight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
6 PM.
If there's-
6
I mean,
PM in October, it might still be light.
It
We're-
probably will.
We're gonna be done before that because the football team comes on. I don't know how the football team does it.
I just said, they rent lights.
Oh, do they? Yeah, so we'll be done before the football team comes
Okay, no,
on.
I think it's a great idea. I just didn't know if we were able to see.
They'll
Yeah.
rent lights, or before they start renting lights, they're right for their car too. Yeah, that's what we did back in the day.
We can,
No,
and I'll
we'll do it.
update with the new dates he has and then clean that up a little bit for him, so. But I also, he did send me some of the clearances, today, so.
Okay. Board action is requested will be requested to approve the attached school nutrition program agreement between Wilkinsburg School District and S&P sponsors with shared students. This is just a standard agreement that we do, how often, every year?
Every year.
Any other discussion, comments, or questions?
I didn't know we did this. How can I not know?
Yeah, we do it for their snack program, so.
This is outside of Nutrition Inc.?
Yeah, this is for Forbes Road, actually.
Really?
Yeah, it's agreement because we have a kid at Forbes Road,
Right.
and we're part of that agreement.
But we don't have to. pay
So
anything.
No, we're not paying, there's no,
It's just us saying, like, feed our kid.
Okay, cool.
yeah, that's what it is.
It just
There you
says
go, it's
feed our kid.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. Board motion will be requested to approve the payment of $5,220 to support the funding of the Westinghouse football team summer camp that includes 18 Wilkinsburg students.
Can I ask why 5,200?
Great question. And again, this is accept the board decision on this, working with Coach Green, and what he's done for our kids. So how it comes up with that is a great question. So I asked, he brought it up, is there any way that we can help
He
fund
was
it?
at the dinner the other night too.
Yeah,
That's, yeah, and it was Coach Green, by the way.
Yeah,
Because
he
you're
was.
not the only person that said that. so
Yeah,
I
he
said
was
the
at the
same.
dinner, I told you that.
Yeah.
So,
Can I just add a little bit of background? Every summer, he has a football camp, for kids, but the PBS doesn't give him any money for it. They have to do fundraising.
And his alumni association raises thousands of dollars for the football program.
So when I asked him how it was paid before, the first
I
year,
didn't know.
he and his wife paid for it. And then last year, the Dick's Sporting Goods paid for it last year. So he asked, and I said, hey, I'll put it on the board, whatever happens, happens. So how we come up with that number, I asked him the total number of players, which was 52 players, and divided that by the total cost of the program was $15,100. Come up with $290. Then I took that, asked him how many were Wilkinsburg students, and 18 were Wilkinsburg students. So I took the $290 and times it by 18. That's how I come up with the $5,220. So.
And this is for 2025.
No, this is for the camp that was completed already. They used some of their own funds from the thing, and it's for us to reimburse.
Oh, we're reimbursing?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
when would we fund the next one? Where would we?
What's that?
And what is going to be our procedure to not just fund this one, but anybody else that comes to us?
Or like
that have our
band,
kids
like
that
what
want
about
us
the
to fund
band,
it?
what
We have to
about?
have something.
Exactly. That's why, whatever you guys decide to do, it's your call. said I would throw in front of the board and make the request. And
I'm personally 100% behind us finding some way to support this happening, because I think it's a really good thing for our kids. Just think about them going all the way to state championships, so that's a really good thing. However, and PPS doesn't pay for it, so that's another reason why maybe we ought to. However, I didn't, the idea of reimbursing for something that already happened,
Yeah,
I don't even know who we're reimbursing necessarily.
right, where'd that money go?
I would really like to see us.
they would go back into probably wherever they,
Well, there's.
they probably pulled from the Dix grant and it would go back in and then they can use that money for
Okay, but
something.
I'd like to know for sure what that was. I mean, just me. And then I'd definitely like to make sure that we address this for next year, so we're ahead of it instead of behind it.
Right.
But I'll do whatever else.
And I just like for us to, if we're going to be, when people come to us and want money, what's the procedure for anybody, not just this, that has our kids, because there's a whole bunch of
Yeah,
programs.
and he didn't come to us and ask for money. When we meet with him regularly, like just last year, 3 weeks before school started, I said, hey, could you be guest speaker for opening day? He was willing to do it. Seeing what he's done for our kids is something that is very unique. And he didn't come to me and ask. I reached out to him, is there anything we can do to support you? And then this came up, and I said, I'm definitely willing to put that on the board. So
The fact that we didn't budget it, that's the next thing for me. You know what I mean? It's the, where's the money coming from? What else? What are we moving around, or what are we gonna lose to assist us? That's why all of that has to come in.
Mhm. Yeah.
So if you could ask, where would the money go if we approve this? And then, and if we don't approve it, because that's like a third of the total cost roughly, so that's a lot of this budget for doing the camp that there was the shortfall. So, but I'd really like to make sure this stays on our radar absolutely for next year, whether we pay for something discrete, like the busing or the something, that we donate, so that we know.
yeah, you said PPS did pay for the busing.
Oh, they did? Okay.
I think that it would be a good idea to go ahead and reimburse. I do believe that going forward, Ms. Tanya and Ed have some great points, and that we need to set up a policy or even a protocol for our partners to ask for money or apply for money from us. Knowing that there's going to be a lot of different opportunities that come from Westinghouse, I think that this is definitely an opportunity for us to either set a precedent or for us to, even go and seek other resources that are available at Westinghouse. I hope that makes sense.
That was my thing, Charmaine. I don't have a problem with supporting the program, but I'm quite sure we got kids in basket weaving and kids in flute band and kids in jumping jacks. And if they need money, what's our procedure for that? We just can't,
Right.
And can we allocate some kind of pool, right, that says like, okay, this is what we've got to be able to kind of fund those.
to donate for our children that are participating in your programs down. Here's a 1 for 5,000, do however you want, or whatever the case may be.
Sounds like an education.
Right.
I mean,
I didn't hear you, Amanda. What'd you say?
I said, it sounds like an education foundation, right?
Yes.
Like something you take to an education foundation,
Right.
yeah. But Latonya, we could talk about this more, and we could say that our practice, maybe not policy, would be that we would contribute up to $200 for a Wilkinsburg student who's attending something, band or this, but we could formalize it somehow so that we don't have to go through this every single time and debate it. I'm just throwing it out there, but
I like that, Ed.
if we have kids at Westinghouse who don't,
because I know we got a lot of kids down there, even though the guys are playing football, we have kids in other things going on.
yes, that's why I
at
said.
Westinghouse. Not only that, let's be real, we have kids in these magnet programs that are in different clubs and things too. So what is going to be our procedure for supporting our children in any other school but ours?
So we've got to actually.
That's a great point.
I don't know, I think we need to talk about it first to see what it would be. It might be, if there's a policy, somebody could hold us to it, as opposed to a practice. I agree. That we just decide, I'm just throwing it out
Well, because
there.
it seems very similar to the money that we donate every year for the HBCU tour too, and
See, all of these things, we need to sit down. especially when I look at it from a perspective, it's not budgeted. So what else
Right.
do we take away, or what are we doing? So we need to come up with something so it's consistent
Right.
Yeah.
all the time. But we got kids at this point in the game, we're talking about Wilkinsburg kids all over the city. So how do we support them all?
That's right.
Those are the ones I gotta tackle.
Yeah, so let's take steps towards that. Let's figure out what we can do to do that.
Yeah, I'd like to formalize this somehow.
Is there any other questions you want me to ask him, other than where we
Just
want
where
to
it's
go?
gonna go.
Yeah, it would be, I think, like, where's it, where's it gonna go? I also don't know that we were real interested in this, talked about it a lot, and if we can't do this, we definitely want to do something in the future, try to do something in the future.
And it'd be great to be able to get a little bit of advertising out of it.
Yes.
Yes,
Some-
right, absolutely.
Some marketing out of it.
Yes,
He's
right.
doing,
Instead of
I can tell you
reimbursement
this,
after the fact, you know?
I've been
Yes.
coaching, I've coached for 20-some years. He's doing things that I've never seen a coach do.
Yeah,
And it's,
he's extraordinary.
whether it be fine arts, whether it be as an advisor, as a coach in football, he is really a remarkable human being.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
and I know he does fight some battles there as far as the bureaucracy of getting things, so.
And I just want to echo that from Joe. I mean, they've been to states twice back to back. They did lose a game in the regular season this year, but I think it's the first time they've done so in 3 years. And I went to their opening game, and watching Coach Green work on the sidelines was amazing. Like he legitimately is an incredible just influence and impact on the kids. So for what it's worth, I mean, I do know kids are in everything under the sun, including, jumping jacks and basket weaving, but not all of the kids are going to state championships for their, or whatever it is. They're not all performing at the top of their craft in their extracurriculars. So I think that is always worthy in the discussion of how successful are you at the particular activity it is. And they're very successful.
He has also offered to come send his kids back to us to be mentors. We tried that the first year when he immediately responded that was shut down.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't get a lot of support. He doesn't get a lot of
So
support.
you might like to try to get that up and going.
Put down our muscle.
Have his kids come over and be mentors for our kids in our school, like come over like one day a week.
And help with homework, you want to make big brotherly sort of thing. But when he tried that before, they shut him down.
They shut it down.
Yeah.
PBS is up in there right now.
Yeah.
That was former administration.
I'm just saying, the PBS up in there right now, we really have to be hard.
Joe, when you go back, I'm not sure if he'll have this, but can you ask him kind of how much do they spend over the whole year? I guess I'm curious about what percentage of his budget is this. If the football, just the camp costs $18,000, like what are they spending every year on this football program? But it will also give me a sense of like how much are we sponsoring the kids? Is this 1% of a kid's football year, or is this 10% of a kid's football year cost?
This was just the cost, to my understanding, for the camp. The school district should allocate funds for the program itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. And this is just what he pays, if I'm not mistaken, just for camp.
The school district should be paying for all that stuff, but if you remember a couple years ago when Dick's bought a whole lot of new equipment for the weight room and all kinds of stuff for the football team, those boys were like, it was Christmas. There's a lot of stuff that was not buying that.
I understand that. That's in any district. When we had our football team here, that's where I started PTO, and I bought TVs.
Like you said, they might even have a
PTO.
alumni. So what I'll do, Antoine, I heard your question. So what I'm going to do is try to see if I can get a total budget, not just for the camp, and see if I can get some numbers for you as quickly as possible. And then if there's anything the alumni sending, and see where all that 5,000 falls into play.
Yeah, and then I guess the other thing I just want to throw on top is I have seen, I don't know if it's them or if it's the Homewood football program, because I understand they're different, but they don't have a field. So they play downtown in like the south side. It's not downtown. They play on the south side, and they can't practice at Westinghouse, so they practice somewhere else. I believe they practice at Westinghouse Park, which is, you know, half a mile from them. But it's not like they have the best equipment and they're riding around in Lamborghinis. Like, these are hardworking football players who practice their tails off. So I don't think, you know, it's like exorbitant.
The Little League doesn't have a field. The high school does.
The high school doesn't have a football field. It's not regulation.
It's not regulation. That's what they use for their practice field. They stopped making it regulations when the PPS decided to put all of their games over at South Stadium. And so now they just use Westinghouse Field as the practice field. The Little League is the one that you'll see walking around because they tore down their field. That's where the remodeling's going on. So they go from field to field. I only know that because I travel when we play them.
Now, for me, I actually wanted to bring up Justin Perkins. He actually is I don't want to say just as good, but I would put him and Dante in the same vein. And I want to say they've gone to championship or world championship for years. I couldn't tell you exactly how many years, but they also don't have the facility to actually have their practices and different things like that. So I can give you more information on Justin Perkins. I'm sorry.
Who does he coach for? What does he do?
I'm sorry, it's the Westinghouse Wrestling Association.
He's a wrestling coach.
See what I'm saying? That's what I just said. We got kids in all things.
That's what we gotta see what we can do.
Okay, so I just at least want to put down a discussion, whatever we decide, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Board action will be requested to approve the attached bus stops and bus drivers for the 2024-2025 school year. I think there are 32 stops listed there. If you can go ahead and open that up. Any discussion around that?
Can we have this in visual format?
Like on the map itself?
Yes. How can well, I guess I could type them all in myself.
Can you output that report in a map?
Try, I'll ask her.
We'll see. We'll look into that. How many,
You know what's interesting? We got 3 stops around the block of Lake Region.
I know
that. Wooden Hill, Wooden Wallace, Wooden Walk, they're all one block.
Right. Yeah.
But that software program maps that all out. Remember a couple of years ago, we spent we bought a software program somewhere that
Every
maps
school
that all
uses
out
it,
for
it
us.
does take the number of kids,
Yeah.
location.
But
And we use
and I'm not sure.
0.7 miles, I think we use.
But I know Hill and Wood, all the kids go right there together, so why do we have 3 stops? That's what I was, and I don't know, if it doesn't make a difference to the bus driver, it doesn't make a difference to me. I'm just making sure we're not paying extra when they're all literally 1 block away from each other.
Right, pick the middle one.
There you go.
And I think to get these pointed on a map might not be that big of a deal if we still use that software program. I mean, it probably
I'll ask her.
starts, yeah.
I'm interested too about that software program itself, like where it pulls its data from. If we have any information around that, I'd like to know.
Where
Where the data that's actually fed into that
it
program.
takes
comes from.
it's from our student, it's from our popular.
But
infinite
How,
campus,
what's
whatever.
the algorithm that it applies, right?
Yeah, that's
That's what I
because
wanna know.
to have 3 right there,
Right.
1, 2, 3, where did it pull from? Because all the kids are coming from the same place. Wood and North, you will get them all. That's
So
the middle.
She
whatever
probably
the-
punches in like 0.7, number of kids,
So-
but she'll know what everything that she punches in.
So I'm interested in the technical documentation for the software to know what it uses to calculate and spit out.
Like
I mean, and
Mary Ann
sometimes, I mean, if a road is deemed dangerous,
Mhm.
we have to do those stops that.
And that's the question too. Where does that get deemed dangerous? Like,
What's the criteria?
what's the criteria? Who gets to
Was
say
that
that's a dangerous road? And then when does that get updated, right? So like, the technical documentation of the software itself, I'd like to see so that we could maybe get some of those answers about like, well, was that 5 years ago that road was dangerous? What changes have been made? What mitigation, how does it update, basically?
Well, there were a lot of incidents on Wood Street, we know that, I mean,
Yeah.
up from
Yeah, Woods.
from Turner.
Yes, that.
So, people were running stop signs and,
Yeah.
the arm that comes down from the bus, they were driving around
They
that.
do that.
I know, it's really terrible, but I just know that it seems to me we heard a lot about Wood Street, stops at the top of the hill.
Okay, all right, we'll try and get that in a map and get some information about the software algorithm itself. The board action will be requested to approve Michael Rose for the Safety Security Committee Chairperson. Michael, I think you've been working in that role for a while. I think we somehow missed appointing you to that role. Are you still interested, Michael?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good, great. Any discussion around that? Okay.
I appreciate Mike's insight. He's been, attends regularly and supports us, so.
Okay, board action will be requested to approve the addition of the Personnel Committee. So the discussion around that, I reached out to Dr. Joe and asked for that. Partly it is to, we don't have plans to hire the HR director at this point, and we'd like the board to be able to have 2 dedicated chair people to do that due diligence of all these, resignations, new hires, anything that comes through that they can do that work. Any other questions or comments around that?
Yeah, I'd just like to see it more spelled out, like the purpose of the committee, or parameters maybe, you know what I mean? If it's just, it's a new committee, usually there's like a justification, not a justification, but some sort of a description of what that committee's about. Like a marketing committee, I mean, there's a description of what it does. I'd like to see that.
And what
That's
would,
all.
what would be?
I don't know.
I guess feedback on what those things are. So for the next item, the Personnel Committee members, I've reached out to Anton and Latanya to serve as co-chairs of that committee. And the idea was that we would form that together to figure out, working with Dr. Joe, exactly what those parameters would be.
Antoine and I have already talked. We had a long conversation a week or 2 ago, or whenever you called us. I do need to sit down and talk to you so we can create what he just said. What's the purpose of this committee?
Mhm.
How often are we gonna meet? Because I don't think we need to meet monthly.
No.
You understand what I'm saying? I even mentioned to Antoine, maybe quarterly.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
So,
I already reached out to some other districts to see what they're doing, so.
and we had a personnel committee here before. We did. However, when I mentioned, as the HR director sat in with us, but since we don't have one, we're, out there. But I told Amanda, and I'll talk to you too, some of the things that we did during personnel committee last time, and I've already talked to Antoine, so it's just a matter of us pulling it all together.
Yeah.
So we know when we meet.
Look, I've even talked to Antoine, we're gonna do it on a Tuesday, since Tuesday seems like our normal day, you know what I mean? So,
Okay, and that is, the last agenda item again is the board action is requested to approve board members. It should say Anton Reed and Latanya Washington to the Personnel Committee. Any further comments or questions or discussion around that?
It's gonna be open.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, all meetings
I
are
mean,
open
it
to
would
board
be,
members.
executive, it would be a
Yeah,
privilege.
the only
you know,
board members can attend them.
But open to the
Yeah.
board, yeah.
Yeah. This well, no board member can attend any meeting.
Okay, we have no public comments on non-agenda items. Do we have any board member comments tonight?
Might have done all that.
Any board member comments? Okay, excusal of absentee board members, that is Ashley, and she.
Doesn't apply, it's clear.
Oh, right, next week, that's next week. And then the meeting adjournment, so,
Yay.
yay, we're done. Thank you, everybody online.
Oh, this was quicker
Bye,
than.
everyone.
Quicker than I thought.